Anderson. 9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. 2 people are still recovering after they were shot at a park in West Jordan. West Jordan Police Detective Derek Brummel says they started getting calls to come to Cougar Park starting around 6 in the morning yesterday.
Callers also reported that there's a large gathering in the area and a possible fight or argument was taking place.
Brummel says when officers got there, they found one person that was shot in the arm and another that was shot in the leg. He says both are expected to recover, but they are still looking for whoever pulled the trigger. Investigators say they believe this was isolated and there's no threat to the public. They're asking anyone who might have information to give them a call. Federal legislation changes mean some Utahns are going to see higher health care costs. And one foundation's report is making it easy to understand why. KSL News Radio's Louise Kelly explains.
President of the Utah Foundation and researcher for the report, Sean Teagan, says that even he has struggled navigating his health care coverage.
I double-checked to make sure that I was going to be covered for this. And they said, well, I guess you have to triple-check. I was like, is that right? Is that a thing?
Teagan says the report found 8 in 10 Utahns already worry about affording health care, and federal changes are expected to cause higher rates for about 420,000 Utahns. He says because fewer people in the state are getting insured, the marketplace is smaller, and insurance companies make up the loss with higher rates. Louise Kelly, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, the Dow's up 93 points to 46,598. Coming up, we got a temperate week with a little bit of rain in the forecast. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Hi, I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. When the IRS invades your life, it's never good news. Keep in mind, it's not just you.
I owed roughly $34,000.
$61,000. When the IRS first contacted me, I was horrified.
When they start hounding you and harassing you and assaulting you.
Don't face the IRS alone. With everything in your life at stake, don't trust just anyone.
From what I got told was being done in a matter of 2 years, he had done in a matter of like 48 hours.
It's a great thing to have the IRS off your back.
We have reduced our tax liability by over $42,000.
Once I signed on with Jordan, I never talked to the IRS again.
It changed our lives.
You need someone to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com and get relief today. Let's solve your tax problems now. Visit endtaxworry.com. That's endtaxworry.com.
Doug Wright here with Monty at Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent dealer. Monty, give it to me straight. Why is Connecticut the premium choice over those standard electric softeners?
Doug, it comes down to this. Do you want an appliance you have to babysit? Standard water softeners have microprocessors and computers that need setting and adjustment. And they use a lot more salt. So you get to haul 40-pound bags of salt down to your basement every month or so.
And Connecticut?
Zero electricity, zero timers to reset, zero downtime, and uses 70% less salt. It's a higher standard of engineering that completely removes the hassle of owning a water softener.
That's what I love about my Connecticut. Dee and I never have to even think about it. We occasionally add a bag of salt and it just works, and I've never had to set or adjust anything. Do what I did and get the one that just works. Find out how soft your water could be at softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
The crash that we had in Syracuse in the intersection at Antelope Drive and 3000 West has cleared off the road. All of those lanes are now open. Still a little congested there. But we do still have this crash eastbound on I-80 just after Redwood Road, blocking that right shoulder. No delays there. Where we do have delays, southbound I-15 from about Warm Springs Road all the way down past the I-80 interchange to go west toward the airport, and a little bit of northbound I-15 slowing as you approach the I-80 201 interchange. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, endless possibilities with 3 locations: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, and Performance Toyota, where excellence is standard. Start your search at performancebountiful.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast. This week we're going to see temperatures in the high 60s and low 70s with partly cloudy skies through most of the week. Only a low chance of rain maybe by Sunday. Right now it's fair and 52 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, yesterday was Easter Sunday, and President Trump was at a church service at Sunday along with J.D. Vance and both of their spouses. And I am choking this morning. But he didn't spare the opportunity to post on Truth Social targeting Iran's power plants and bridges. What he said was this, and I can't read it all. Tuesday, which is tomorrow, will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped into one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the blank straight, you crazy blanks, or you'll be living in blank. Just watch. And then he says, praise be to Allah. Oh, boy.
Well, it spurred a reaction, that is for sure.
Yeah, I guess so.
So we have with us today to help us break it down the Hills, Jared Gans. Jared, can you tell us what happened with, I guess, after the president posted that on social media?
Absolutely, right. So it definitely created quite a stir and a lot of eyes now looking at if he intends to follow through in launching this attack tomorrow if there's not some agreement. It definitely stirred quite a bit of backlash from Democrats and some military experts. Senator Chris Murphy accused the president of openly saying that he intends to commit war crimes by attacking, civilian targets. So it definitely raised quite a lot of eyebrows.
Have we heard anything since then? It's been maybe a little bit less than 24 hours. And often Trump will make statements like this and then back off as it gets closer and closer to the deadline. And I know we're still tomorrow, but have we heard anything in response to what's going on from the administration?
Right, and we're going to see later this afternoon, the president is scheduled to give a press briefing along with senior military leaders, and that really may be key to determine if this is going to go through. Now, this deadline that Trump has for the end of today to potentially attack tomorrow, he has pushed back this deadline twice. Originally in mid-March, he said that he would obliterate Iran's power plants or energy infrastructure if there was not a deal, and then it was pushed back 5 days because he said that there was progress in the talks, and then it was pushed back another 10 days. So it's already been delayed twice, and certainly it's not outside the realm of possibility that could happen again. But he does seem serious this time, and it would require a third delay, which the president may be hesitant to do.
So, Jared, could you tell us what Iran's reaction or response has been so far?
Right, so Iran has definitely expressed quite a bit of a lot of this process. The president has at times touted progress in talks, and Iranian officials have pushed back on that. And that continued today. Iran has rejected this 15-point peace proposal that the U.S. has been pushing. They have their own list of demands as to what's necessary for this conflict to end and for the Strait of Hormuz to reopen. But safe to say Iran has not reacted kindly. It does not necessarily seem like they are going to cave the next day on this.
And then also, we're speaking with the Hill's Jared Gans. Anything from the Israelis, they have been fairly lockstep with us, although the Israelis and the Americans are kind of going in each direction in other ways. Have they responded to this, or do they seem to be a part of this threat?
Right. So at least publicly, it doesn't seem clear that they are part of this. Israel is continuing to do its thing, and it's enough stress that it conducted Iranian military leaders and certain targets. But Israel doesn't seem directly tied to this. Notably, a few days ago, Trump and the administration touted attacking the largest bridge in Iran, which it said was being used to ship military supplies. And Israel said that it was not involved in that. So it was a bit of a break we see there in between the U.S. and Israel and how it is proceeding.
So, Jared, I understand that a potential ceasefire and pause was proposed by other countries. Has either the U.S. or Iran responded to that proposal?
All right, so we have this proposal of a 45-day ceasefire and to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Of few third-party countries that are involved in trying to mediate that. Pakistan is in particular have been trying to play mediator. It's not clear yet as to what the response would be to that. Certainly if that could be certain kind of agreement. President Trump has really put a lot of emphasis on reopening the Strait of Hormuz. If Iran were to agree to that, that may be enough to get the strait back open and to avoid the pending possible attack that could come as soon as tomorrow. But we've yet to hear about whether they're open to that.
I have another question. You mentioned the president's going to hold a press conference a little bit later today. Do you have a sense for what he is going to be addressing besides just the really big picture here?
It's not clear yet, and it's certainly ahead of some of these public announcements. The president's often kind of kept cards close to his chest ahead of the primetime address that he gave to the country last week. There wasn't a lot of clarity ahead of that as to what exactly he was going to say. There were some reports that came out, some of them that panned out and did it. So we'll have to see. It's certainly, this has been part of the president's strategy of kind of keeping the cards close to the chest and not tipping, so to speak. And that's at times gotten criticism within the U.S. for lack of transparency, but the administration thinks that is valuable in strategic planning.
All right, that was the Hill's Jared Gans. Thanks for joining us this morning. And, there's a lot to be said here. First of all, the Post is certainly problematic, and so is our connection there. And I apologize to our listeners. I don't know what was going on there. We could hear about 3/4 of what Jared was saying. But I read this post, and I just thought, somewhat less than presidential. But he gets angry, Trump does, and when he's angry and sort of excited, he doesn't hold back on what he says. The language is highly inappropriate, and it's in Truth Social. But I mean, he's the president; he can say what he wants, and I think he's trying to get the message across that something has to change quickly. And this Tuesday deadline, we're just a day away from it. He says you'll be living, in bad position. You've got to do something, or some, Power Plant Day and Bridge Day. You have to question the ethics of bombing a power plant and a bridge.
Well, it's not just a power plant and a bridge. It's taking out civilian infrastructure, which a lot of people are saying that's a violation of international law, meaning it's a war crime. So there is an interesting update from the Associated Press just before we go to break, and they're saying that Tehran has rejected the latest ceasefire proposal. We were just talking about that. They said, we want a permanent end to the war. We won't accept a ceasefire. We will only accept an end to the war with guarantees that we will not be attacked again. And they are trolling the president on social media. It is kind of wild to see. So when we come back, we will talk about those questions about international law. So stay with us over the break.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off, or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
Hi everyone, it's Congressman Blake Moore here. Strong families are the bedrock of our communities. That's why I'm focused on bringing Utah's core values to Washington and advancing pro-family legislation. I helped permanently increase the child tax credit, create Trump accounts for children, and incentivize employers to provide better access to childcare, benefiting families and setting up our next generation for success. As the father of 4 boys, family is everything, and I am continuing to work on solutions to make raising a family in America more affordable. To learn more about what I am doing to advocate for you and your family in Congress, sign up for my weekly e-newsletter at blakemore.house.gov and follow along on social media at Rep. Blake Moore. If your family needs help navigating a federal agency or has questions about what I'm working on, please give my office a call at 801-625-0107. Happy to also help coordinate U.S. Capitol tours, take your comments, and provide legislative updates at any time. It's our honor to serve you and your families in Congress. Thank you. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
If you're ready to sell your home, check your home's current value, buy a home, or need a home services professional in the Salt Lake City area, you can find all that and more on the free Omada Real Estate app. The real estate experts at the Stern team, powered by Omada Real Estate, have over 1,700 5-star reviews and have helped thousands of families turn their real estate dreams into a reality. With their proven marketing strategies, the Stern team, powered by Omada Real Estate, can get your home sold stress-free and for the most money possible. Go to sternteam.com or Google the Stern team.
Taxes was waiting on the refund you needed yesterday.
All right, your car repair is going to run about $3,000.
Now Taxes is getting back on the road with TurboTax and Credit Karma, where you can get your refund up to 5 days faster and get personalized guidance to take every dollar further. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Deposit a federal refund into Credit Karma Money account and early submission of refund data by IRS required. Terms apply. Banking services provided by MVB Bank, Inc. Member FDIC. Credit Karma is not a bank.
Progressive knows that for business owners, vacations hit different. But hey, at least you finally took a vacation. And look at that. You only answered 53 calls, 84 emails, onboarded 1 new hire, and covered for Chris while he's out on paternity leave, and you did it all from a kayak. Because you, my friend, know how to relax. All right, you may not know how to take a day off, but you do know both your personal and business auto insurance needs can be covered in one place with Progressive. So at least that's relaxing, right? Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states or situations.
911, tell me exactly what happened.
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
And I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
and you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast Cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know. Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Well, there was certainly a lot going on over the weekend, especially in relation to the war with Iran. And President Trump has given an ultimatum, and that ultimatum is to be put in place by Tuesday, which is tomorrow. And I just looked it up. Tehran is actually 9.5 that's weird, hours ahead of Salt Lake.
That is weird.
So their Tuesday comes before ours. We may have some breaking news in the morning when we get rolling here, but he's threatened to attack their power plants and their bridges if Iran does not open the Strait of Hormuz by tomorrow. That deadline seems to still be in place. Although he's given a press conference today at 11 our time, we may break to that. But to help us understand more about what's happening here, here's ABC News political correspondent Rachel Scott, who spoke with the president.
With the president threatening attacks on Iran's power plants and bridges, I asked the president if anything is off limits. Very little, he told me. I also asked if he was considering striking civilian infrastructure. The president said, I don't want to talk about that, claiming the civilians want me to do it. But experts warn those attacks could amount to war crimes, violating international law.
Yeah, so civilians want me to do it is one thing, but there is international law as it relates to war and war crimes, and there's a significant difference between attacking civilian infrastructure and military infrastructure. And
right.
And so when he says the following, it's power plant day and bridge day, I'm going to bomb their power plants and their bridges, those would rely heavily on whether or not those infrastructures are for civilian or military use. And if they are for civilian use, then yes, attacking a bridge, blowing up a power plant that shuts down the power in a city would be under international law a war crime.
So I wonder if you can tell us more about that, right? And I've got a couple of questions. One, you're not supposed to go after civilian infrastructure, and I'll just shift wars for a minute. So Russia has gone after Ukraine's infrastructure a lot, targeting power plants, and especially during the winter when it was so cold, right? So people couldn't get heat or electricity to their apartments or their houses. So first of all, what constitutes that, and second of all, does it matter?
Right. So let me start with does it matter? Because currently from The Hague, in terms of war crimes, there's a warrant outstanding for Vladimir Putin. What's he going to do? I mean,
sure.
So, and there very well may be one against President Trump and Pete Hegseth in the days or weeks to come. So the question, does it matter? It matters procedurally, but practically probably not. If they don't submit themselves to the jurisdiction of The Hague, there's not much that can be done. I think it looks bad. It looks very, very bad for the president and any of his staff to have warrants outstanding for them in the International Court of The Hague. But will it matter? Will he serve a day? Will he ever have to face the music? Almost certainly not. So the second question is, are these war crimes? And I think there have already been war crimes, and let me just go through a couple here. When the decision to go to war itself at the outset is under international law a war crime, because you can only engage in a conflict with another country for one of two methods, that is. One, in self-defense. We'll talk about that in a minute. Or two, if you're authorized by the UN Security Council, which clearly didn't occur. So the self-defense comes when the administration says, we think Iran was about to use a nuclear device. If that's realistic, certainly they couldn't have used it against the United States because they couldn't have got it here. I mean, were they protecting Israel? Is there other things going on? So those type of problems, the decision to go to war at the very beginning could be seen as a war crime. I'm not chiming in whether it is or not, but I mean, I certainly think it could be seen as a war crime because it violated what I think is that provision. And then you go after the civilian infrastructure, oil and gas, water. Think about water desalination.
Right.
That's the process by which you convert ocean water into drinking water,
which is a really amazing, fantastic process. But yes,
right. But so you can't do that if it's for civilian use, and it's almost certainly got to be for civilian use.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably don't have a lot of water there, so yeah, they're getting it out of the ocean. There's plenty of water there, and those desalination plants have been in place. I shouldn't guess, but I will. Maybe 20 or 30 years we've been doing that process. It's a very involved process, but it saves lives. I mean, it creates a lot of water for people that normally wouldn't get it. So, yeah, I think that's a significant problem. And then, of course, you've got civilian targets. And by one reading that I've seen, Holly, the Americans and the Israelis have attacked 67,000 civilian targets, including 498 schools and 236 health facilities, which I guess could include hospitals. We know about the one school, the what they call a primary school,
elementary school, yeah.
175 people killed there, including many children. And the reason why that's being looked at now as a war crime is because, I mean, certainly if you have collateral damage, and I don't mean to downplay that at all. I mean, if you're bombing a military base and there happens to be a school on the base or very, very close to the base, maybe you would have some reason for excuse. But there was information available readily for even anyone who could access it that showed that particular school was not a military establishment, that it was a school. It was independent of the base that they were bombing. And so to bomb that school, to me, would seem to be a fairly clear violation of the war crimes. Whether anything comes of that, I don't know. Certainly, I mean, anytime you're killing 100+ children, grade school children, that's pretty troublesome.
So let me. You spoke about other schools, and over the weekend, Israel attacked the top scientific university of Iran. It's the Isfahan University of Technology and the Iran University of Science and Technology. And one of the things that I have read over and over the weekend is that is the equivalent of their MIT. So very, very prestigious and produces world-class scientists. And in response, of course, what do you think Iran has said? We're targeting American universities in the Middle East.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it'd be one thing to attack, the Naval Academy or something, which would be horrible. But I mean, it's that's military. But attacking MIT, that's civilian. And here's another problem you get when they attack. Now the U.S. is thinking about attacking their energy infrastructure, which includes nuclear facilities.
Yeah.
So think about that.
Yeah.
Think about bombing a nuclear facility, and not just what it does to the civilian population having no power, but the radiation.
Right.
What's being contained there in those facilities requires constant oversight, and you bomb it, then think of the radiation that could be released into the community.
Well, remember in October, the president said we had obliterated all of their nuclear production facilities, all of that. Look, I had a question for my husband over the weekend because with this quote, even that you just played, or in our last segment, the very little, right? That Rachel Scott, who spoke with the president, said
is limits.
Very little is off limits, and so I wondered if he might be willing to actually drop a nuclear bomb, and my husband doesn't think so, and I think you don't think so.
No, I don't think we'll ever get to that point. I do think that there is the second most devastating thing would be a fairly big blitzkrieg and just hit a lot of structures at once. And that may very well be what he's thinking about for tomorrow, is an all-out blast. I don't think that'll happen. We've seen Trump issue some ultimatums and then back off numerous times.
Right.
And if he gets anything from the Iranians indicating they want to talk or they want to have a ceasefire or something like that, he may do that. But you're telling me that latest from Tehran is that they're not interested.
They said no.
In that.
Yeah, they already said no. So look, right now the president,
they're daring him.
They are. Yeah, they are. They certainly are trolling him on social media. So the president they're having the annual Easter egg roll on the White House lawn right now, and reporters, of course, have been asking him questions. We're going to follow what he says in his press conference, but just briefly, he said the war could end quickly if they do what they have to do. He says he plans to speak with airmen families later. The people, the two who were rescued, are reportedly doing well. And then, quote, "If it were me, I'd like to keep the oil." So from Iran.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, let's hold our breath that something happens and gets worked out between now and tomorrow. I do think that having an ultimatum does make some sense, but boy, the ultimatum is pretty harsh.
Yeah.
Well, when we come back, this is just as another bizarre story, but a man was arrested for lewdness involving a child after police accused him of undressing, getting completely naked in front of thousands of people attending general conference. So it'd be lewdness involving thousands of children. That could be quite quite significant. We'll discuss just how significant and what could come from this in terms of the prosecution when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. A man was taken to jail after police accused him of getting completely naked in front of thousands of people attending General Conference.
36-year-old Mitchell Dean Anderson was taken into police custody shortly before the start of the Saturday morning session after police accused him of completely disrobing while on the grounds of Temple Square. According to arrest documents, a Salt Lake City police officer on a rooftop saw Anderson take all of his clothes off after stepping onto church property. Police say church security threw a blanket around him before officers caught up and took him to the Salt Lake County Jail. Since there were kids going to conference with their parents at the time, Anderson was booked on suspicion of lewdness involving a child. If he's formally charged and found guilty, he could face up to just under a year in jail and up to $2,500 in fines. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture plans to close over half of their research stations in the country, including several in Utah. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
57 of nearly 80 U.S. Forest Service research facilities are being closed across the nation, with plans to move nearly all research into one location in Fort Collins, Colorado. This includes locations in Logan, Cedar City, and Ogden. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says this will streamline research and make implementing change easier. However, nonprofit organization Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility says this may introduce a one-size-fits-all approach into forest management across completely different ecosystems.
It's also noted the change happens right at the start of the wildfire season after an unusually dry winter. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 67 points to 46,572. Coming up, looking at a nice spring week of weather. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Does your home have peeling paint or faded colors? Don't procrastinate. You need to protect your home with quality paint and a worry-free process, so make an appointment with CertaPro Painters. You quickly get a free estimate that's detailed, easy to understand, and then their trusted local professionals will bring fresh color to your home with quality craftsmanship at the right price. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so schedule your free estimate at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. CertaPro.com.
Who is Farm Bureau Financial Services? At our core, we're relationship builders. We're home and auto bundlers, life insurers, farm and ranch protectors, and retirement planners. We're neighbors, community members, and friends. We're the people you can count on now and for years to come. Find a Farm Bureau agent at fbfs.com/protect. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company, Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
I'm Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. Ever wonder why I say Arctic Spa, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate? Well, we are the world's most northern manufacturer of spas, and we are built for the cold climates. We are just more heavy duty. It is commercial grade, but built for your house. We use fiberglass instead of ABS plastic. We use thicker, stronger, better insulating covers. We use our heat lock insulation to utilize the excess heat from the motors to help heat the water and protect the equipment. Arctic Spas are designed to last longer and be less expensive for you over the long term. Arctic Spas are known for their water care automation with our automatic saltwater system and our automatic pH control. We have it, no one else does. This makes it easier and more enjoyable for you to own an Arctic Spa. Find the perfect Arctic Spa for you at arcticspasutah.com or visit any of our 3 stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. That's why we say Arctic Spa, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. What are you looking at, Cormac?
Well, the crash that we had on I-80 has cleared off the road, but we do have a new one. This is on the off-ramp from southbound I-15 at 2100 South. They're blocking a left lane and shoulder there. Some light delays just on the off-ramp there, but on main flow I-15, you shouldn't see any delays between Ogden and Provo, both directions. Where we do still have delays is in Lehigh, eastbound Pioneer Crossing, and that construction zone still a little slow approaching I-15. Common Spirit, hospitals, clinics, and caregivers, all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast today is going to look kind of what it's going to look like for much of the week. We're going to see highs in the low 60s or high 60s, low 70s. A small chance of rain, but not really until Sunday. Right now it's 54 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
One of the things I did this weekend, Greg, was tune in to General Conference for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There were about 20,000 per session who showed up and went into the conference center. There were 4 different sessions. Well, on Saturday morning, there was a man who was outside of the conference center on Temple Square who decided to get completely naked in front of everybody going into the conference center.
Yeah, here's more from KSL News Radio's Adam Small on exactly what happened. 36-year-old Mitchell Dean Anderson was taken into police custody shortly before the start of the Saturday morning session after police accused him of completely disrobing while on the grounds of Temple Square. According to arrest documents, a Salt Lake City police officer on a rooftop saw Anderson take all of his clothes off after stepping onto church property. Police say church security threw a blanket around him before officers caught up and took him to the Salt Lake County Jail. Since there were kids going to conference with their parents at the time, Anderson was booked on suspicion of lewdness involving a child. If he's formally charged and found guilty, he could face up to just under a year in jail and up to $2,500 in fines. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
So I've got a few questions for you. One is, and we already had a texter ask us this, there were surely more than just one child in front of him as he was stripping naked. How is this that it could be less than a year in jail and just $2,500?
So technically, Adam's right. It is a year in jail. It's just under a year. It's 364 days for reasons, well, I can explain some other day. And up to $2,500 in fines. That's per occurrence, and that is per child. So technically, he could be charged with hundreds of offenses. And so if you accumulate them, obviously it could be much more. But I also am looking at the code. So lewdness is a crime that occurs, as you might expect, when someone exposes their genitals in a public place.
Sure.
Or a woman breasts. And again, there are exceptions to that, too, for breastfeeding and such. But anyway, for this particular case, it would be lewdness. Lewdness is a Class B misdemeanor, carries up to 6 months in jail. Lewdness involving a child means that a child was present, or the person should have known that a child was present. And there's probably no... I mean, he's obviously presumed innocent, but you would assume if you're at the grounds of the Temple Square on conference, you're going to have some kids there.
Sure.
And so he could be charged with a separate offense for every child. Now, as I look at it, it's a Class A misdemeanor unless it occurs in connection with a lewdness charge. Then it could be a felony.
Oh, wow.
So he could be charged with multiple felonies. And I'll say this also, certain crimes will put a person on the sex offender registry, and lewdness of a child is not one of those crimes unless you have more than 3 convictions.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's a 3 strikes case.
Sure.
So if there are 3 kids there,
there would have been,
then
yeah.
he could be on the sex offender registry, and that could be for, I think, 10 years.
So he was booked into jail and he hasn't been charged yet. But could he be charged then with multiple offenses, or are they just going to keep it to one?
Yeah, that depends on what the district attorney's office decides to do, because I am looking at the jail booking sheet, and it accuses him of one count. And that your listener made a reference that, well, hey, can we really do this for one count? The answer is yes. And I think the police officer there probably just booked him in on what they had to get him into jail. Booking just means you processed into the jail system. He may very well have been released by now. I doubt it.
Right.
Because it's only been a couple of days and that there hasn't been a lot of time. But on a misdemeanor over the weekend, the jail's there's not a lot of room, so he could have been released. I could check the jail records, although it's not important. But will he be charged with just a single Class A misdemeanor lewdness? Almost certainly not. The district attorney's office is going to look at this. And, anytime you have a public gathering, you have to consider the harm caused to the public and the harm caused to children. I mean, somebody who's, let's say, and this is the typical lewdness case. Somebody's sort of urinating on the side of the road. They don't realize a car drives by. That's a problem. It's still a crime. It's still the same crime. But if the car has children in it, it's more. But the crime really becomes more serious when the act is more of an aggressive act, more of, intending to be naked in front of children or adults or both. Then it becomes more serious. And so I look at this case, and you asked me during the break, is there a mental health issue here?
I mean,
almost certainly. I mean, you just wouldn't do this. I mean, and somebody I think was asking, well, what if this was a prank or a joke or something like that? That's not a defense,
right?
I lost a bet.
I lost a bet, and now I'm going to jail.
Now if you lost it, I'm going to be on the sex offender registry for 10 years. May go more than jail. I'm assuming if he's convicted and if he did this, that there would be some significant, not jail, but mental health treatment.
Yeah.
This is something. Remember back in the day when we had all the streaking thing?
Yeah.
That was when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like 50 years ago.
Yes.
And it was a fad, and it was a big deal. And we didn't
streak across the field at football games.
Right, exactly. We didn't prosecute it very seriously. For one thing, the streakers were usually faster than the law enforcement officers, so a lot of times they didn't get caught. They would just cover their face, and that was the only thing covered. I actually saw one once at like you say, at a high school football game, and I think I saw one at a Jazz game once.
Oh wow!
But now they take it seriously. It's a sex offense. Back then, it wasn't a registrable sex offense. Now it is, and it's prosecuted that way. I would think the DA's office is going to look pretty dimly on this and say, we're going to charge you with I'm guessing he'll be charged with several felonies.
Wow. So a couple of things on the report stood out to me. One is that there was a Salt Lake City police officer on a rooftop, which means to me that we have eyes in the sky, right? Even if they're physical. I don't know if there were drones or not, but we've talked a lot about increasing security in the state as things unfolded after Charlie Kirk was shot in September.
Exactly.
So I was impressed that there was somebody on a rooftop who saw him stripping down. And then the other one is that there was a church security officer who was able to throw a blanket around him. It sounds like he wasn't streaking, i.e. he wasn't running. He just was disrobing. But I didn't know that they carried blankets in times of
Yeah,
need.
I don't think they do. I just think he found one. He found something to wrap it. Maybe it wasn't a blanket, or maybe it was somebody's shawl or something like that. But that was a classy thing by the church security officer to do.
Yeah.
Instead of just go tackle a naked man, like because you've got to do two things. You've got to protect the public from seeing this, and especially children.
Right.
They don't need to see that. And you've got to take the guy down. You've got to stop him from continuing his conduct. So that was a brave move by the church security. Where he got the blanket, I don't know, but they wouldn't carry them.
Well, I don't know.
Unless maybe if you're on the grounds and people are sitting there.
It was readily available.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it was a story that was like, really. I mean, I know there's protesters, but this was maybe a unique way of protesting, or maybe he thought it was just funny. I don't know.
Or maybe he's just got a mental health issue.
Doing
something like that in front of that number of people, it serves no purpose at all. I mean, it's just it's an offensive act, and even though it's a misdemeanor, if you just happen to do it in front of one kid, it's a serious thing, and we take it seriously because it's I don't know, it bothers people and it upsets people, and especially you're going to conference to.
Right.
Whatever your feeling is about the church, I mean, it's a very sacred event.
Right.
I mean, so take it seriously and allow the members their due, which is to It's also Easter Sunday.
Yeah,
or it was
exactly.
It was Saturday, but nonetheless, it's Easter Sunday weekend. So yeah.
Well, we're going to stay with General Conference and talk about how President Dallin H. Oaks was sustained as the prophet by the entire body of the church. He spoke as the leader of the church as well, and we're going to learn more about the key takeaways after the break.
If your water heater's over 10 to 15 years old, congratulations. You've beat the average. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I love hearing stories of people having water heaters that are really old and they're still doing their job. Unfortunately, most of us won't be that lucky. And when water heaters fail, it's usually in spectacularly inconvenient fashion. Whether it's an unexpected cold shower when we're already running late for work, or worse yet, coming home to a flooded basement, it's never fun. If you'd like to look into replacing your water heater before it fails, Any Hour Services is having a sale for any homeowners listening. Whether you're looking for a new tanked water heater or you want to see what upgrading to a tankless would cost, the plumbers at Any Hour Services can show you what options are available. And right now, you can save $400 on a tanked water heater or $1,200 on a tankless. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services today and schedule your free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Can you hear it? That's the sound of nature waking up in Box Elder County. Spring has sprung, and the first visitors are already here. From grebes to geese, Bear River Bird Refuge is alive with the sound of thousands of wings. And it's not just the birds who are invited. There's plenty for you to enjoy. Experience the world-class minerals at Crystal Hot Springs. Stand on the spot where the railroads joined and forged the destiny of a nation at Golden Spike National Historic Park. Check out the jaw-dropping murals up and down Tremonton's charming Main Street. The list goes on and on. Hungry? From fine dining to classic comfort food, Box Elder County has something that's sure to hit the spot. In Box Elder County, the air is fresher, the sky is wider, and spring is in full bloom. Come wake up your senses and plan your spring escape at visitboxeldercounty.com. Produced in partnership with the Utah Office of Tourism.
How was your break?
It was great until I stopped for gas. Prices have gone up almost $1 with no end in sight. I might have to start watching how much I drive.
That's exactly why I use Upside. I never pay full price for gas with the free Upside app.
Upside?
Yes, Upside. It's the free app that gives you cash back just for buying the gas you're already buying. So even with the rising gas prices, I'll never have to limit how much I drive.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Just last year, I made over $200 with the Upside app.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app right now.
Download the free Upside app to earn cash back on the gas you're already buying. Use promo code THRIVE25 for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code THRIVE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first fill-up. That's THRIVE25.
Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. You can feel the spring in the air. As a matter of fact, we've been feeling the spring in the air all winter long. But as the season genuinely changes, it's time to make your reservation at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, Hotel Park City, and downtown Salt Lake City. And don't forget, quite a few great events are just around the corner, including some holidays. We'll have a lot of visitors in Salt Lake City before long, and it's time to make your reservation at the downtown location, 275 South West Temple. And of course, up in the mountains, it is beautiful. There's still some skiing going on. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is right there at Hotel Park City. The best meal you have ever had awaits you at Ruth's Chris, whether it's steaks, whether it's poultry, whether it's seafood, the side dishes, the desserts, you're going to love Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, downtown Salt Lake City, and Hotel Park City.
Let me ask you a question. Do you have a best friend?
How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency? Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son and they're demanding $500,000.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Talk. They hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
The new Inside Sources.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints held their annual, it's actually semi-annual, but in April it's called the annual General Conference over the weekend. And one thing to note today, April 6th, this is the day that the church was officially organized back in 1830. So that's a fun fact of the day. But over the weekend, President Dallin H. Oaks was sustained by the entire population of the church, the general church body, in a solemn assembly, which is a special time where people by organization showed their support for this new leader. But we also had some other things that happened during General Conference, including a new primary presidency that was called. So we have with us Sarah Weaver from the Deseret News, who wrote about and followed this closely over the weekend. And Sarah, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
So I wonder, I do want to talk about President Oaks and his first real address to the church in General Conference. But first, tell us about the new primary presidency, because I think it's pretty striking.
Well, this is an exciting time for the international membership of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because we have a woman from Africa that was called. She was raised in Zimbabwe, and her experience will add some diversity and some depth to the leadership that we haven't had before. She's the first president of a women's organization that is from Africa.
And isn't one of her counselors have a different background as well? Asian, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Sister Garfield, who is the first counselor, is she was born in Japan. She has a Japanese mother, and she's also a widow. Oh. And so you see people and the experience they bring and how the Lord prepares them for these opportunities of service. And this is a very diverse presidency.
I saw a funny quip online over the weekend, because the second counselor is currently serving as a nursery leader, and the person who posted said, "See, no one is safe."
Well, and Sister Collins is an amazing woman as well. She's from Draper, and so we need all kinds of people to serve.
Of course.
I also saw, Sarah, that the church members sustained 8 new general authorities. And in light of what you just talked about, diversity, I think that this is a pretty good indication of that as well.
Yeah, of course, as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints grows internationally, that international presence is reflected in their leadership. And it certainly was reflected in those called during this conference. And if you look at who is now serving as a General Authority 70, you will be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't represent every single area of the global church membership.
Can I ask one more question before Holly jumps in? And that is that I saw that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints gave 6 leaders emeritus status. Is that I hadn't seen that before, and maybe just because I haven't been paying attention. What can you tell us about that?
So what happens is leaders who are called as General Authority 70s. So the church is organized with the first presidency and a quorum of the 12 apostles, and every one of those senior 15 leaders serves until death. They commit their whole life to church service. The next governing body is called the Quorum of the 70, and general authority 70s serve from the time they're called to the year that they turn 70 years old. So this year, there are 6 leaders who have either turned 70 or will turn 70 by the end of the calendar year. And they're given what's called emeritus status, which means they're released. They get to move on with their life and become grandfathers and live where they want. When someone serves in senior leadership, they're given assignments that may include an area presidency or an assignment at church headquarters, and they don't choose those. So they may be living in Africa or in Asia or in South America or in Salt Lake City, and now they get to actually say, where do we want to live? Where do we want to go?
Oh, really? That's interesting.
So you mentioned numbers, and I wonder if you could spend just a minute or two on the numbers before we talk about President Oaks talk.
Yeah, so this was one of the conferences since the pandemic. We've now had 3 where the conference center was filled to capacity. It was very interesting to me that this was the first conference where there was not a Saturday night session. And I actually thought the assumption that I made is, we'll hear from fewer speakers. But we actually heard from one more speaker. This conference had 34 speakers. October conference had 33 speakers.
Wow. And
so we heard from the same number of speakers. They all probably just spoke a little less. Which, for a generation that has a shortened attention span, that might have been okay too.
I noticed that the sessions were ending early. I felt like even yesterday afternoons ended 11 minutes early, which seems unusual to me.
Yeah. They plan these right to the minute, right to the exact number. It's a little different than it used to be, where you actually, most people viewed conference either in person or through network television, and now there's so many ways to view conference, either through internet streaming or social media, that there's a little more flexibility, I think, with the time.
President Dallin H. Oaks seems to have been a fixture with the church for a long time, Sarah, and I guess I hadn't realized it was his first general conference as the prophet.
Yeah, so on Saturday morning, there was something held that was called a solemn assembly. This is where the global membership of the church has the opportunity to sustain, or the term that's used is by common consent, say, I support this leader. And that is done in a traditional way where people rise in their priesthood quorums or groups and each sustain the leader. And then at the very, very end, you start with the first presidency, and then you end with the entire membership rising together as a whole unit and raising their right hand and saying, I support this leader. So that happened on Saturday morning. He had actually served as the leader of the church in October General Conference, but in that capacity, he was leader of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles because President Russell M. Nelson had just passed away, and he had not been ordained president of the church yet, because by tradition that doesn't happen until after the previous prophet's funeral. So conference went ahead last time. He presided at conference as president of the Quorum of the 12, and then this time he presided as president and prophet of the church after this very special solemn assembly on Saturday morning.
We only have about a minute left, but tell me some of the key takeaways from his, really his first talk.
Yeah, so he continued on the path that he has been on in recent years, and he asked Latter-day Saints across the globe to be peacemakers. He asked them to make sure that their language and their behavior reflected that of someone who is a peacemaker. He doesn't want people enticing conflict. He wants them avoiding it. And what a beautiful message at a time when we have government leaders that are speaking out in ways that promote conflict, where there's war in many lands. And actually it came at the same time when the Catholic Pope spoke on Easter and also asked for peace. So what a beautiful thing that so many leaders of so many faiths are saying, look, there's conflict in the world, and there should be peace in our lives, peace in our hearts, and peace in our communities.
It was really a beautiful conference this year, and thanks for joining us again, Sarah. You're just so accommodating for us every week when we need you here. When we come back after the break, the two largest ski resort owners in North America are facing a class action lawsuit claiming that they inflate daily lift prices in order to coerce skiers. We'll break down what the lawsuit means and if it has any legs after the break.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story for this hour. Federal legislation changes mean some Utahns are going to see higher health care costs. And one foundation's report is making it easy to understand why. KSL News Radio's Louise Kelly explains.
President of the Utah Foundation and researcher for the report, Sean Teagan, says that even he has struggled navigating his health care coverage.
I double-checked to make sure that I was going to be covered for this. And they said, well, I guess you have to triple-check. I was like, is that right? Is that a thing?
Teagan says the report found 8 in 10 Utahns already worry about affording health care, and federal changes are expected to cause higher rates for about 420,000 Utahns. He says because fewer people in the state are getting insured, the marketplace is smaller, and insurance companies make up the loss with higher rates. Louise Kelly, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News, the war in Iran. President Trump is threatening to target Iran's power plants and bridges unless the regime opens up the Strait of Hormuz by tomorrow. ABC News chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell has more.
Iran has continued to strike here in Israel and Gulf countries, and U.S. facilities in Iraq were attacked by Iranian-backed militias. Despite the back-and-forth threats and attacks, Iran again dismissing the 15-point peace plan as unacceptable. A Pakistani security official telling ABC News that Iran will not accept a ceasefire without, quote, suitable guarantees.
Oil's been a little bit up and down this morning, but right now sitting at $112 a barrel. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up, though, 110 points to 46,614. Coming up, it's going to be pretty much like this the whole week. Don't have a chance of storms till later. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
The Children's Center Utah provides a unique service in our communities by meeting the needs of very young children and their caregivers. Here's another Little Minds Big Hope message from Dr. Jennifer Mitchell, the Children's Center Vice President of Clinical Strategy and Innovation.
Did you know early mental health support can change the course of a child's life? The earlier children get help, the better their long-term outcomes can be. Find out more at childrencenterutah.org.
Something about me. I don't like to settle. I work hard to be my best self, and I want a vehicle that matches. So I'm shopping for a Cadillac because their innovation and craftsmanship are top of the line. With a whole line of electric SUVs packed with state-of-the-art technology, I know I'll be driving away in redefined luxury. Help all of us at Jerry Seiner Cadillac celebrate our new location with an incredible buying experience for your dream car. Come in today to experience the Seiner difference.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big. UCCU. Love where you bank. Cormac, what are you looking at?
Well, the crash that we had at the off-ramp at 2100 south from I-15 has cleared off the road. And looks like it's once again a clean drive all on I-15 all across the Wasatch Front. We did have some heavier delays on southbound I-215's west belt approaching the I-80 interchange in that construction zone. Looks like they had it closed for just a second to do some transitioning with that construction. Those delays have cleared also off the road, so I-215, no matter where you drive, is running smooth. Where we do have normal delays is eastbound Pioneer Crossing in Lehigh due to that construction. That starts as you approach 7800 west, and it's heavy and slow till you get over to I-15. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today's going to be sunny with some clouds coming later in the day. Highs in the lower 70s. Tomorrow, a little bit warmer. Things will cool down on Wednesday and then bounce back to what we're seeing today and tomorrow towards the end of the week. Right now, it's 55 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We are wrapping up another ski season, Holly, along the Wasatch Front, along the state of Utah, I should say. It was probably the worst ski season in modern history in terms of snowpack, but we did have a lot of skiers come out. And so over the years, our ski resorts have sort of morphed into bigger conglomerates. For example, Vail. When I used to patrol at Park City Mountain Resort, and it was Park City. About 14, 15 years ago, Vail purchased it, and it became a Vail Resort.
Right.
And then they combined Park City and the Canyons, and it became a mega resort here in Utah. Well, Vail, as a conglomerate, as a number of resorts, has what they call their Epic Pass. In other words, you can buy a season pass called an Epic Pass, which is good for, and our guest will help me with this, for all the Vail resorts. Okay. It's a season pass Park City, but if you want to fly to Colorado or any of the other Vail properties, you can, and it's $1,051.
Yikes.
A steal. Because a day pass is $350. You ski 3 times a year, you've made it up.
Yeah, wow.
So there's also Alterra Mountain Company, which has purchased a lot of ski resorts around the country. So these are the two biggies. These are the two giants. Alterra owns in Utah alone Alta, Snowbird, Brighton, Solitude, Deer Valley, and Snow Basin. And they have a season pass that's about the same price, $1,329. And day passes are still about the same. So a group of skiers sued Vail and Alterra over their lift prices. And you mentioned something like, hey, can you get a refund
because
if there's
the
no
weather
snow?
was bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just the cost of doing business. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You never know. Even on a given day, you spend $300 for a day pass, and it might be lousy or crowded or cold or windy.
That's wild.
Whatever. You get what you get. So anyway, this lawsuit has been filed recently. I think it's a class action lawsuit on behalf of all the skiers, but they actually named as defendants both Vail Resorts and Alterra, who have these Epic and Icon passes.
So we have with us on the line Dennis Romboy from the Deseret News, who wrote an article about this. Dennis, thanks for joining us today.
Good to be here. Good to talk to you.
Can you help break down for us what they're alleging over the antitrust? I understand what antitrust means, but I'm not sure I understand what these plaintiffs say these companies have done.
I think they're talking more about the pricing being anti-competitive because these two resorts dominate, or these resort owners dominate the lift capacity in the United States, with more than half of all lift capacity, it being a Vail or an Alterra resort. And so some years ago, Vail decided to offer this Epic Pass instead of trying to depend on the weather and have people come ski every week and pay their daily lift tickets. They wanted to try to give an option to have a pass that you buy up front, and that would be good for all their properties, all their resorts around the country, and even other places outside the United States. And so that's the model they started using. And at the same time, they raised the daily lift ticket prices basically to encourage people to buy the season pass as opposed to waiting and seeing if it's going to be a good day and buy a daily lift ticket and go skiing or snowboarding. What they're alleging in this is that because they dominate the market so much, that the higher lift ticket prices, basically, they use the word coerce skiers and snowboarders to buy the season pass as opposed to buying a daily lift ticket pass, because the price for a daily pass is so much higher now that it looks like a good deal to buy the season pass instead.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, I didn't understand it as well. And I guess Alterra did the same thing with their Icon passes. Is that right?
Yeah, they did about 10 years later. I think Epic started in 2008, Vail with that pass, and then Alterra came in, I think it was 2018, and offered the Icon pass.
So can I, is there any advantage to being local, for example, or is this pricing just across the board now?
So there is some advantage to being local. There's an Epic local pass. I believe there's an Icon local pass that's a little bit cheaper than the full Epic pass, but it's not good at as many resorts, or it's not unlimited. Like you could go with an Epic pass to some resorts in Lake Tahoe area, but you could only ski there 1 or 2 days with the Epic local pass. With the Epic full pass, it's unlimited anywhere you go across the country. So they do try to cater to locals to some degree. It's a little bit less cost than the full pass.
So as I understand it, Dennis, and you've explained it better than I did, that what happened was these season passes are expensive, but not a lot when you consider that a day pass is $350, meaning that you could ski 4 days and you'd make up what you spent on a season pass. So that sort of discourages people from going up and just, testing the waters and taking a day pass or two, and encourages more people to buy season passes, which usually, as I understand it, Dennis, you have to buy before the season starts, or you're encouraged to buy before the season starts. So
they're cheaper in May and April than they are in November. The pricing goes up, the closer you get to the start of the ski season. And for the resorts, it's a steady revenue stream. They know how much money they're going to be taking in before the season even starts. And I think one of the things that it's done with the season pass is, I think maybe a lot of people are buying these passes. I think Epic Pass, there are like 2 million of them sold before the season even starts around the world, around the country. And so I think a lot more people look at that and go, well, I bought this pass, so I got to go skiing. And it's just put a lot more people at the resort. I think as a result, there might be some more crowding, some congestion, that type of thing. At least that's what some of the, some observers are arguing, that's really what the increase in traffic and congestion in our canyons during the winter is because of that.
Dennis, what is the response right now from the ski resorts?
They believe that this lawsuit is without merit, that they're providing the skiing is much more accessible and cheaper. And in a way, that might be true. Years ago, a season pass at one of the top-tier resorts was probably closer to $2,000. Now it's half that. But for the daily skier, it's a lot more expensive. But, yeah, like the resorts, they say these are without merit. They've done things to lower their prices. For example, an Epic Pass for people aged 13 to 30 is going down 20% this coming season. I think it's to keep and maintain Gen Z skiers and snowboarders. But that's basically been their response. They've lowered the cost, made it more accessible, and this lawsuit is without merit.
Just one final question, Dennis. I was trying to find out where the lawsuit was filed. Was it am I correct that it was filed in the federal court in Denver?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so it's not.
Three of the plaintiffs live in Colorado, and one lives in Massachusetts.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Dennis Romboy with the Deseret News. And we have a couple of texters. One says the Icon Pass is best purchased by April 16th. Another one says compare the price of these ski passes to that of a Disney Parks annual pass. Anyway, yeah. So that, I mean, that just begs the question: are prices just getting too high? Lift prices.
They set it to trap you a little bit. You
yeah.
get a better deal if you buy it earlier,
right?
Not having any idea what the following ski season's like.
I
But
know.
still, I think, and I guess I'm biased because I'm in the ski industry, although the resort I work at isn't part of either of these conglomerates, that you ski 3 or 4 days and you can buy a season pass for
Right.
the same price as a day pass. I
Right.
think skiing is still a bargain. I'm just going to say that.
I just think it's so expensive. Holy cow.
Right, yeah.
Okay. A second airman was rescued over the weekend, the second airman, after a U.S. fighter jet was shot down by the Iranians, and it didn't come without complications. We're going to talk more about how this rescue unfolded and what this strike may signal about Iran. Straight ahead.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
Imagine a world where you can leave the house and take your home Wi-Fi speeds with you. Thanks to Xfinity Mobile, it's not just a fantasy. Just picture it. You're at your kid's soccer practice streaming the other game in 4K. Just like that. In the airport, download a cozy family comedy in a snap with Wi-Fi Power Boost. What if the places you had to be felt more like everywhere you wanted to be? That's the magic of Xfinity Mobile. Reliable Wi-Fi and 5G when you need it. Xfinity. Imagine that. Cut your mobile bill in half with 2 lines of unlimited. Visit XfinityMobile.com to learn more. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet required. Savings based on promotional rate for 2 lines of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited versus regular rates for 2 lines of T-Mobile Experience More, Verizon Unlimited Plus, and AT&T Starter as of 2/10/26. Taxes, fees, extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Xfinity. Imagine that.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolade spells powerful relief. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. Take the first step. Visit CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com.
Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes in new inventory every day. Then they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. So you're invited to visit the movie show Friday 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit NPSstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. NPSstore.com.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Everything to my back.
is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
Really ugly clouds coming over from the north.
A place
The ridgeline is imposing, the escarpments, the drops.
where survival
It's dark now. I have nothing.
is never certain.
This is not good.
My name's Dave Cawley, and I'm the host of a podcast called Uinta Triangle. It's about the disappearance of an Australian hiker named Eric.
Our conclusion and that of the sheriff is that the mountains have decided to keep him.
Come retrace Eric's footprints with me.
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
He is not the first or last person to vanish in this remote region.
It was haunting to see the photos. I mean, really.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle. That's Uinta, spelled U-I-N-T-A, Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes out now.
Inside Sources.
Friday, we were following very closely the search for a pilot and a co-pilot in a U.S. F-15 Strike Eagle that had been shot down by Iranian forces, and it was shot down. We learning Friday that the pilots had ejected from the craft. We saw some of the ejection seat on the ground. There were some photographs of that. And, of course, U.S. forces had to go into Iran, into that country, and try to rescue these two men. I assume they were men. I don't know. I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, they assumed these two pilots. They had rescued the pilot fairly early on, but when we left Friday, they hadn't rescued the co-pilot.
Right.
And I thought myself, personally, that was a bad sign, especially because Iranian forces were looking for them as well. And I thought, how hard can it be?
And they said, if you see him, shoot him.
Right, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so we did learn that the second airman was rescued over the weekend, and we've got more from Martha Raddatz.
Hundreds of elite special operations forces under the cover of darkness saturating the area in southwestern Iran, where the F-15 Strike Eagle had been shot down late Thursday. The colonel, a weapons systems officer, had been seated in the back of the jet and the pilot in the front, ejecting milliseconds apart. Both aviators had beacons and communications gear to help the combat rescue teams locate them. The searchers were all aware that Iranian forces were hunting for the colonel as well, and that Iran had offered a $60,000 bounty for his capture. Searchers had made contact with the colonel, who they heard on a radio transmission saying God is good after he ejected and landed in those remote mountains. And finally, they were able to extract him and eventually get him to safety.
So that was ABC News Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz. And, you know, one of the things that stands out to me, Greg, is there are absolutely boots on the ground in Iran with U.S. forces. But the other is, like, this sounds like a movie setup, you know?
Oh, it's incredible to think about what this poor man had to do.
Yeah.
And apparently he was able to climb like 7,000 feet. And so we're hearing different accounts of it, but the Americans almost made it sound at one point like they had located him, thinking that the Iranians would get caught off guard, and that he was at the lower elevation, so they were down at the lower part, but he'd climbed up the mountain.
I think there was a misdirection campaign. One of the things I heard, right? So it is interesting, and here's more on that from ABC's Start Here podcast. It was not uncomplicated.
The president saying they were monitoring his location 24 hours a day, meticulously planning his rescue.
More than 40 hours after that crew member had ejected from his plane, a rescue operation was underway. 2 MC-130J aircraft carried hundreds of personnel to an airstrip somewhere in Iran, and then they launched what are known as these small special operations helicopters, the little birds they're called. And those little birds then flew from that airstrip up towards the mountain area, and then they rescued him from there and then brought him back to the airstrip. But the really complicated factor was that those planes that brought everybody in could not take off because there were some mechanical difficulties. Hundreds of military personnel, special operations forces in an exposed area behind enemy lines, and nobody could get out until 3 new replacement aircraft came in. But it's a really complicated operation. Obviously, some things went wrong, but at the same time, solutions were found, and this crew member was able to be rescued. And we learned that this individual was a high-ranking officer. This was a colonel Not very typical to find a colonel flying on a mission like this, and that he was the backseater, that he was the weapons systems officer. So very complex operation. And as the president said, it appeared that there were no injuries in the mission, and that there were, more specifically, that nobody was killed.
And you wonder how the United States landed an aircraft on an Iranian airstrip and had hundreds of personnel with. I mean, that wasn't just a little...
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Look, I'm looking at an NBC News report, and it's interesting because we just heard that there were no injuries, and yet the NBC report said President Trump said the second airman was seriously wounded, but he's doing fine now. And here's some more. So I think they're still changing stories about what happened, but this NBC News story said that the CIA launched a deception campaign inside Iran after U.S. forces had already found this pilot alive. They were moving him to some place where they could evacuate him safely. But this is what a CIA official told the news organization. While the Iranians were confused and uncertain of what was happening, the agency, meaning the CIA, used its unique, exquisite capabilities to search for and find the American. This was the ultimate needle in a haystack, but in this case, it was a brave American soul inside a mountain crevice, invisible, but for CIA's capabilities.
Crazy. I mean, and he's carrying a beacon like we do on the ski patrol, although this is obviously a million times more sophisticated because they're able to track him probably from space or something.
Well, I wonder too, like if he's carrying a beacon that Americans can see, can't Iranians see the same beacon?
You have to know what the sequence was, what the frequency is, and you can't just. I mean, I'm sure there are an unlimited number of frequencies, and that's got to be an incredibly top secret piece of information because they couldn't locate him, and they had what, a $60,000 bounty on him for his capture.
Yeah,
and you've got to imagine they had people out looking hard for him. He was up hiding in a crevice where U.S. authorities could probably hear him and know where he was. They probably can't communicate with him. He doesn't know if they're aware of his presence, maybe, but they've got to land in Iran under cover of darkness. They've got to get another aircraft over to get to him. They've got to get him out of there. I mean, I can't wait for the movie. This is something else. And he's a colonel, high-ranking member of the Air Force.
And we don't know anything still, really. At least I don't know anything about the first pilot, of what their rank is. And anyway, so one of the things that's interesting, of course, it has to be part of the discussion, is that the downing of this F-15 Strike Eagle really calls into question the claims that we have destroyed all capabilities for them to shoot down U.S. planes.
The downing of that American F-15 marks the first time in this war that Iran has successfully taken down a manned U.S. aircraft, and does raise question about Iran's military capabilities just days after President Trump claimed Iran no longer had the ability to shoot down U.S. planes.
I mean, good news, bad news for Iran. They have some capability to shoot down U.S. aircraft, but they lack the capability to find two pilots in their country. You know what I mean? Like that says something for both sides. Iran has more capability than we expected, really, because they shot down an F-15, which is probably our most sophisticated, I think it was something like $27 million aircraft.
Almost 28.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so one of the things, too, and we've got a texter asking, did they have to leave planes behind? So we talked on Friday that the F-15 Strike Eagle had been shot down, that there was an A-110, I think, and there were two Black Hawk helicopters. Well, Iran is claiming that the U.S. Shot down the other three aircraft as a diversionary tactic and that it wasn't them. But, of course, on Friday, what we were hearing is that was Iran they claimed to have struck those, and now they've kind of changed their story. It was an A-10, known as a Warthog. So that one made it to Kuwaiti airspace. The pilot ejected. The aircraft crashed. So I don't know the answer to that question on whether we had to leave aircraft behind. I don't think we left any personnel behind.
And you also have to wonder if we had to leave aircraft behind, the one that broke down on the... As I understood it, there was one of the... They probably destroyed it or blew it up on their way out the door.
If you see pictures, in fact, I've seen some pictures online where they say, warning, trigger warning to, view this, just completely obliterated, right?
Yeah.
The aircraft is just a smoldering pile of metal junk at this point.
Well, that is a very good ending for a very bad situation. A $28 million aircraft shot, a pilot and co-pilot bail out. They're lost for some period of time. You have to go into enemy territory.
Yep.
You have to extract them. You have to not get caught yourselves, and you have to extract them before the authorities, the Iranians, get them, because they would have done the worst. We heard Friday they were given a shoot to kill orders, and then today we heard that there was a $60,000 bounty for their capture.
Yeah, that's right. And there was also posting on social media that if they were to capture him, they would follow the rules of international norms for POWs.
Yeah, we'll see.
So, yeah.
Well, we expect to learn about the release of new water shares for the Great Salt Lake. This is expected to benefit the Great Salt Lake for the next 5 to 10 years. This is a significant development. And as we speak now, they're preparing for a press conference on that. If it starts here, which it may start in just a minute, we may go to that. But this is as we talk about where we are right now, well, let's just break to that press conference right now.
I'm the Executive Director for the Great Salt Lake Watershed Enhancement Trust, which is managed by National Audubon Society and the Nature Conservancy.
Just slow down a little bit. You're going way too fast.
she's getting mic'd up here. She started talking before.
You're welcome.
Here we go, 10:30.
We are so excited to be here today and have so many of our partners join us, including members of the Trust Council, which include Mr. Tim Hawks with the Brine Shrimp Cooperative, and Spencer Gibbons with the Farm Bureau. We're also so pleased to see so many members of the media here as we get to announce and celebrate a really important partnership that truly embodies what it's going to take to save Great Salt Lake, which is people from all walks of life in Utah, people from all sectors, working together at different scales to conserve water to benefit Great Salt Lake. The Trust, along with our state partners, the Utah Divisions of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, and the Division of Wildlife Resources, are entering into an important partnership with the Metropolitan Water District of Salt Lake and Sandy to deliver an average of 2,500 acre-feet annually over the next 5 to 10 years to benefit the hydrology of Great Salt Lake and its ecosystem. We're also so excited and grateful to announce that Great Salt Lake Rising is also joining in this partnership to support projects like this that deliver direct measurable water benefits to the lake. Now, this is new water for the lake, and it is going to get there as a result of the dedication and focus of our partners like Metropolitan Water District, a number of other water agencies, as well as Utah Division of Water Rights, who will be responsible for measuring this water and shepherding it down the system to reach delivery points at the lake. Now, this water transaction is really exciting and important in and of itself, but at the crux is the fact that this delivery is being made possible largely as a result of water conservation efforts by residents and businesses and governments of Salt Lake and Sandy. That just goes to show that individual and collective action to conserve water can make a difference for Great Salt Lake. Now, with that, I'd like to have Hannah Fries join me at the podium. She's here today to help open this press conference. And the Office of the Great Salt Lake Commissioner is a very important partner of the Trust. So welcome, Hannah, Deputy Commissioner.
Thank you, Marcel. Thank you for being here with us this morning. It's so good to have all of you to celebrate such a wonderful opportunity to show our collaboration as we work together as private and state agencies to work on efforts to make a greater Salt Lake. And on behalf of the Commissioner's Office, I appreciate the efforts, and we'd like to say thank you to the Great Salt Lake Watershed Enhancement Trust for their efforts in making this water transaction happen. What folks might not see when we hear about these water transactions is all of the work that goes on behind the scenes. Often we might think of, like in our homes, we can just turn a tap on and the water is right there when we need it. But that's not necessarily the case with these transactions. And there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes. And we're very grateful to the Watershed Enhancement Trust and their staff who've worked behind the scenes to make this happen and have dedicated a lot of hours. And we are so grateful to Salt Lake and Sandy City for all of their dedicated hours as well. Folks in water conservation and those of us that live here and are residents of Utah often think that the things that we do don't matter, that maybe our individual direct conservation might not make a difference in this effort, to this monumental effort that we're undertaking to have a healthier Great Salt Lake. But this transaction and these 2,500 acre feet, this delivery to the lake, is exactly that. This is an effort and such a great opportunity to show that your conservation matters, that all of us as individuals and homeowners, business owners, and people who live in Utah, that when we make conservation efforts, we can collect those conservation efforts and then have big impacts to Great Salt Lake. And so we're grateful to all of you. Often you hear from the commissioner's office that we are all in this together. And this water transaction is proof that we are all in this together, and that as we collect our efforts and continue to conserve, we can have an impact on Great Salt Lake. So with that, I will turn it back over to Marcel.
Well, thank you, Hannah. Before I turn it over to some of our other partners, I just want to elaborate on some of the progress that has been being made for the lake. And I think it's important to understand that the trust was established initially with funding from the state of Utah to facilitate water transactions that protect and enhance water flows for Great Salt Lake. And what we've seen is over the last 3 years, we're working on 4 years, that we've witnessed an increased willingness by a number of interests and individuals who are interested in doing water transactions that can benefit the lake. And they're willing to invest their time and their resources into this as well. And we think that's a really good and important outcome. Last year, the Trust helped contribute to the water going to Great Salt Lake at 72,500 acre feet of water. We know that there's a lot more progress to be made at the lake in order to restore the lake by 2034. But with every new partnership that moves water to benefit Great Salt Lake, we know that it will build momentum, will have a ripple effect, and that's true even as we navigate this historically dry winter. I want to thank the awesome Great Salt Lake Watershed Enhancement team. Thanks to Adam for all his work on this water transaction. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Annalee Munson, the manager for Metropolitan Water District of Salt Lake and Sandy.
Thank you. Well, as a native Utahn, I have a lifelong love for the Great Salt Lake. As a child, my family would drive from Taylorsville to Tooele to visit my grandparents. And the highlight of the hour-long drive was always the view of the Great Salt Lake. Peering from my window, the lake was majestic, beautiful, and seemingly endless. I was fortunate to have parents who shared their love of the lake. They would tell me of their dances at Solitaire, and my dad would plan weekend trips to the islands. I never imagined as a child that one day the Great Salt Lake would need me. It is a privilege for me to be part of securing this water to the Great Salt Lake. I am grateful for the conservation efforts of Salt Lake City and Sandy City that have made this effort possible. Without our communities, Metro Water would not be able to shepherd this water. This milestone proves that our small daily decisions about water use make a big impact to our water supply. The vitality of the lake is important to me, and I can tell that it's important to you. Thank you all for this partnership. I value everyone's efforts on this achievement. We have a long way to go, but every step forward is also a step toward the objective. Thank you. And I'd like to welcome to the podium Jesse Stewart. He's Deputy Director at Salt Lake City Public Utilities.
Thanks, Annalie. As Annalie mentioned, I'm Jesse Stewart. I'm with Salt Lake City Public Utilities. We're the public water system for Salt Lake City and most of the East Bench, including portions of Holiday, Mill Creek, Cottonwood Heights, and other cities on the East Bench. You've heard the word collaboration a lot here today. I think that's one of the more important words here. This collaboration shows it's essential for it shows how we can collectively manage the water resources of the valley and the state. This is a great collaboration between all the different agencies that are working on this to get this water to Great Salt Lake. Part of this is we're here because of the residents. They've stepped up really very, very much so in terms of conservation. So conservation's helping make this dedication happen. There are challenges, though, as you all experienced this last winter, one of the driest ever. If you're a skier, you saw how the ski resorts were impacted, how our water supplies have been acted. So there's still some areas to go. So we're going to continue to ask for conservation, and we're actually going to, for Salt Lake City, we're going to enter into our stage 2 of our water shortage contingency. And that's just because of the lack of snow that we've got up there. We've got good soil moistures, but there's not a lot of snow, and the creeks might not be as productive. So we're going to be going into that, asking folks to voluntarily reduce water and asking governments to reduce a little bit more, government agencies. Again, what this collaboration shows, what conservation shows, is we have to manage our water wisely, whether it's Salt Lake City or whether it's the county or whether it's the entire state. And having a healthy Great Salt Lake is important to all of us. That's vital to the economy, to the health, and vibrancy of this state. So we're very happy to be part of this very good collaboration between everybody out here. Conserving water that supports the lake. The water that we conserve can eventually make its way to Great Salt Lake. So protecting the lake is responsibility. It requires all of us to be the solution, and I look forward to continuing this partnership and these collaborations for years to come as we continue to do everything we can to make Great Salt Lake as healthy as possible. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to another member agency with Metro Water, Mayor Monica Zoltansky with Sandy City.
Wow, what a beautiful day. It's so wonderful to be here at Memory Grove. Perfect setting for the reminder that we all live downstream. The snowflakes that fall in the mountain within 24 hours have melted and come down Little Cottonwood Creek into Metro Water Processing Treatment Plant and are out to the taps of our residents. This time of year, I spend a lot of time visiting with Sandy school children. I'm in the schools almost every week, and one thing that I hear from the kids of Sandy is how important the Great Salt Lake is, clean air, water conservation, and watershed protection. So it makes me so proud as mayor to know that even the children in Sandy are on board with our efforts here today. Sandy is a proud partner, proud to be part of the solution in protecting the Great Salt Lake, one of Utah's most vital natural resources. And even as our communities continue to grow around the Wasatch Front, Sandy residents are conserving water at an impressive rate, 10% year over year. Now, 10% might not sound like much, but if you know that our city is growing, water usage, there's continues to be high demand for water usage, 10% is an impressive rate, and it doesn't happen by accident. It's a result of intentional policy and everyday practices that help people understand that we are indeed all connected and to the health of the Great Salt Lake, and we are responsible for it. In Sandy, we've taken a comprehensive approach to conservation and water management. On the policy side, we've adopted water-wise ordinances for new development, ensuring that new growth doesn't come at the expense of our environment. We've also restructured our water rates in recent years to support responsible use. That actually makes it more affordable for the average Sandy household to use water to meet their needs while discouraging waste through super consumers who get hit with surcharges. But policy alone is not enough. Education and tools matter most. We offer hands-on classes in Sandy for both kids and homeowners and anyone at our Sago Lily demonstration gardens that helps people learn how to conserve in practical, achievable ways using water-wise landscaping and native plants. If you haven't been to the Sago Lily Gardens, I highly recommend it. Programs like Flip Your Strip provide incentives to replace high water usage lawns and park strips with water efficient landscaping. And in Sandy, we're also embracing technology to conserve. Our real-time water alert system called Water Smart allows residents to register, and that monitoring, through that monitoring system, they get immediate notifications if something's wrong with their water system, like a leak or water left running. It's helped me when I had left the water on in my barn. It's already helped people avoid serious water damage and costly bills from things like broken irrigation lines or faulty appliance. Finally, in Sandy, we recognize that water doesn't stop at our city boundaries. That's why we're proud to partner with Metro Water and Salt Lake City to share our surplus resources and work collaboratively toward regional solutions. And it also helps Sandy with the reimbursement that we receive through saving these targeted water shares. It helps allow us to maintain our costly infrastructure. When we work together across cities and individuals, we not only reduce costs, we protect a resource that is essential to our environment, our economy, and to future generations. Thank you. And next up, I'd like to welcome Tim Hawks.
Good morning, everybody. So Tim Hawks, I serve on the Great Salt Lake Watershed Enhancement Trust Advisory Board, and I've been very happy to serve in that role. And I'm also here representing Great Salt Lake Rising as their interim executive director. Great Salt Lake Rising is an organization that was founded by Josh Romney, and the idea was to bring business and philanthropy together to sort of accelerate change in efforts to save Great Salt Lake. I hope what's been on display already today is the power of partnerships and the importance of partnerships in working to solve a challenge as difficult as Great Salt Lake. And yet, so I'm very grateful for the trust for stepping up to do this. All of these partners, the cities, Sandy and Salt Lake City, working together to make this happen. To solve Great Salt Lake, to save Great Salt Lake, it's going to take all of us working together. And again, I think the goal here is to accelerate that work as much as we can, to empower partnerships like this one to make a real and lasting difference. I think sometimes when we think about Great Salt Lake and how much there is to do out there, it can feel overwhelming. But I love a quote by Wallace Stegner. He said, "It's hard to be pessimistic about the West. This is the native home of hope." And it's partnerships like the one we've been talking about today that give me hope that we can and will save Great Salt Lake. Thank you. Okay, we're turning over to Joel Ferry, Director.
Thanks, Tim. Good job. All right, good morning, everybody. It is an honor to be here this morning. Let me tell you, today is a culmination of years and years of work, both local but also on a state level. We have seen legislation, we have seen changes in policies that have enabled this type of action to happen. Cities, farmers, individuals can now know they can conserve water, they can dedicate that water to the lake. We can make sure it gets delivered. We can shepherd it to the lake, and ultimately we can ensure that it's accounted for in a proper way. So I just want to thank the legislature and our cities and our locals, on individual level, for all the work that they've done to make this happen. These mechanisms are really important, and these tools that we now have that we've talked about for years are being put to work. So thank you guys. This action today is not any like one large donation. It's the work of thousands of individuals. I get people asking me all the time. One of the most common questions, what can I do? What can I do? Does what I do actually make a difference? And I'm here today to tell you that yes, as a citizen of Utah, as someone who lives here on the Wasatch Front within the Great Salt Lake watershed, your actions matter. You can make a difference. If you change your water timer, instead of watering for 30 minutes, water for 20. That makes a difference. flip your strip. I mean, these programs that we have through the Division of Water Resources at the Department of Natural Resources and other programs that we have, they make a difference. Little things that we do on an individual basis make a difference. And when we take and we aggregate those together, and I don't want to conflate this, but when we aggregate those together and make it in the big picture, it makes a difference. What we're talking about today is 2,500 acre feet annually over 10 years. That's 25,000 acre feet. That's Metro water, that's Salt Lake water, and that's just one of the steps that they're taking, right? If we were to implement this and duplicate this across the Wasatch Front, the difference it would make would be incredible. And this is what it's all about. And this, when we talk about we're all in this together, it's not just the state, but we've seen recently President Trump, just in his budget last Friday, announced that he is committed to making the lake great again. And I want to thank him personally for his efforts. We're seeing changes within our federal structure, changes in their posturing, in their position, in their support, that are going to help us save the Great Salt Lake. And together we can do this together. This request it follows a series of discussions that we've had on a state level, state to federal level. And the governor just met with the president just last month asking specifically for that $1 billion. President Trump tweeted about that and has shown his commitment to make this happen. Now, all of this comes on the heels of pretty tough times. We've seen the driest, the lowest snowpack, and the hottest winter on record. And yet, even in these tough times, we're still able to make these types of commitments. And if we can do this in the bad times, imagine what we can do in the good times when we do get the water, how much we can dedicate to the Great Salt Lake. It's critical that we continue to innovate, that we continue to work together across all sectors to use our water wisely, and ultimately together we will save the Great Salt Lake. Thank you. I want to give a big shout out to Sandy City, to Metro, to Salt Lake City for all the work that they've done to make this happen. Thank you guys. Good job.
We've been listening to a press conference for the Urban Water Conservation, trying to get more water into the Great Salt Lake. It sounds like it's going very well. We had 7 speakers, and it's a plan that would create 2,500 acre feet of water to the Great Salt Lake for 5 to 10 years. A number of dignitaries spoke on that, and this is very promising. We may have more information about that later, but let's take a break.
Can we talk about something difficult to discuss? Are you going through a difficult financial time? You have equity in your home, but nobody can help? American Home Loans has created the Bridge Loan Program to use your equity regardless of your credit at this time. The bridge loan can be used to pay debts, collections, IRS liens, divorce settlements, or home improvements. Call it 801-262-2221. That's 262-2221. This loan creates a bridge between now and a much brighter future. After COVID, one of their clients had over $85,000 in credit cards. Their scores were too low to borrow on their home. American Home Loans was able to save them $2,000 a month. And after 8 months, they qualified for a conventional loan and lowered their payments. The consultation is free and confidential. Please call them and see what they can do for you. The number is 801-262-2221. It's 262-2221, or go to AmericanHomeLoans.com. AmericanHomeLoans.com. NMLS 245422, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you looking to find more fairways, hit more greens, and lower your scores? Then it's time for a custom fitting from a Shields certified master fitter. Learning from the world's top fitters at Titleist Performance Institute, Callaway Performance Center, and the Ping Proving Grounds, we have the tools and expertise to match the right clubs to your swing for a more consistent game. Elevate your play today. Visit shields.com/expertfitting to schedule your session.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different.
TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Ready for your next vehicle? At Performance Automotive in Bountiful, your new Ford, Toyota, or Honda is here. Built for Utah communities, canyon weekends, and everything in between. Choose capability with Ford, long-lasting reliability with Toyota, or smooth efficiency with Honda. Backed by friendly experts and financing options that fit your budget. Visit Performance Ford, Performance Toyota, and Performance Honda for your test drive. Browse inventory, check pricing, and schedule your visit at performancebountiful.com. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, driven to be the best.
We finally realized something.
We wanted more time for family, faith, and service.
And less time giving every Saturday to the house.
Amen to that.
At Ovation Homes, active adults 55 plus can enjoy beautifully designed, low-maintenance homes in a welcoming community built for this season of life.
More peace, less upkeep.
Learn more about Ovation Homes' newest communities in West Point, Syracuse, and Layton with an open house event April 11th featuring experts, food, and more. Visit ovationhomes.com.
We decided to downsize.
Less to manage.
Fewer stairs.
More friends.
Ovation Homes. Downsize the stairs, upsize the lifestyle. Your best years start at Ovation Homes. To learn more about your next home, find a community, or speak to an Ovation specialist, visit ovationhomesutah.com. That's ovationhomesutah.com. Your best years start at Ovation Homes.
And expanded Inside Sources.
We just heard from city officials and others about the release of new water shares for the Great Salt Lake that are expected to benefit the Great Salt Lake for the next 5 to 10 years. Joel Ferry, the director of the Utah Department of Natural Resources, really reminded us that our actions make a difference.
I get people asking me all the time. One of the most common questions, what can I do? What can I do? Does what I do actually make a difference? And I'm here today to tell you that yes, as a citizen of Utah, as someone who lives here on the Wasatch Front within the Great Salt Lake watershed, your actions matter. You can make a difference. If you change your water timer, instead of watering for 30 minutes, water for 20. That makes a difference. Flip your strip. I mean, these programs that we have through the Division of Water Resources at the Department of Natural Resources and other programs that we have, they make a difference. Little things that we do on an individual basis make a difference. And when we take and we aggregate those together, and I don't want to conflate this, but when we aggregate those together and make it in the big picture, it makes a difference. What we're talking about today is 2,500 acre feet annually over 10 years. That's 25,000 acre feet. That's Metro water. That's Salt Lake water. And that's just one of the steps that they're taking.
It's no surprise, but it's also very encouraging to me that so many people are taking this so seriously. There have been a number of groups who have given up their water shares and spilled those into the Great Salt Lake, because without the Great Salt Lake, we are in serious trouble. And this year's ski season was a perfect example of where we are water-wise.
Yeah.
And let's face it, we get that lake effect snow, and without the lake, we're not going to get that. It could make a huge difference in what we're doing here in Utah.
So we know that community members are actively saving water, and Sandy Mayor Zoltansky actually spoke about how they're embracing technology to do so.
And in Sandy, we're also embracing technology to conserve. Our real-time water alert system called Water Smart allows residents to register, and that monitoring, through that monitoring system, they get immediate notifications if something's wrong with their water system, like a leak or water left running. It's helped me when I had left the water on in my barn. It's already helped people avoid serious water damage and costly bills from things like broken irrigation lines or faulty appliance.
You know, it's encouraging because we can't legislate more water from Mother Nature. We can't get more water from the air, but we can get more water shares headed down to the Great Salt Lake, and more people are recognizing the importance of that and giving up their shares. President Trump has actually carved out $1 billion in budget for the Great Salt Lake, and this is after he vowed earlier this year to restore the lake. It is at dangerously low levels. We're going to get worse levels as the spring runoff ceases
Doesn't
much
materialize.
earlier than
Yeah.
usual. I noticed that the reservoir by my house, Pineview, is quite high right now, but not as high as it would normally be. And usually it peaks at about early June. This year it seems to be peaking now at early April.
I'm looking at a KSL story from the end of last week talking about extreme drought in the state of Utah. Almost 60% is now affected. It's up from 7% 1 week earlier. That's how quickly it jumped because of those really warm temperatures we
those
got.
record temperatures.
Yeah.
And we did have a huge rain and even a couple feet of snow. I would have thought that would have made a big difference, but it didn't. I mean,
it's not enough.
Right after some of the mountains, the ski resorts closed, which was a week ago Sunday. We had this huge snowfall last, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, which I thought would have made a big difference. I'm sure it made some difference, but maybe not. If we still have 60% of the state in what you call
Extreme drought. Yeah. Okay. When we come back, we expect an update from the president after the rescue of those 2 U.S. airmen in Iran. We're going to bring you, hopefully, his press conference, but have an opportunity to talk about what's happening over there. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good morning. It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top story this hour. This coming weekend is the final testing phase for firefighters who have been training the past few months to see if they have what it takes to join the Salt Lake City Fire Department. KSL News Radio's Michelle Rowe reports.
Bob Silverthorne with the Salt Lake City Fire says despite all the job openings you may see for firefighters, it's a competitive field if you want to join a department. This Saturday will be one of the final tests for those who still remain in the training out of the 1,000 who initially earned a spot in the weeks-long session. He says they hold candidates to a high standard, earned by a rigorous review of their response times, hiring practices, training, and thorough assessments of their candidates. From 1,000 candidates, only 15 to 30 will make the cut.
Police are still looking for the person suspected of shooting 2 people at a park in West Jordan. This happened at Cougar Park around 6 in the morning yesterday. West Jordan Police Detective Derek Brummel says someone started shooting after an argument broke out in a large group of people in their early 20s.
Units arrived to the location and observed 2 parties that sustained non-life-threatening injuries.
Brummel says one person was shot in the leg and another was shot in the arm. Both were taken to the hospital, but they are expected to recover. Police are still looking for the shooter, but they do not believe there's any threat to the public. West Valley police are now investigating a man discovered a body in a canal while he was fishing last night near about 5300 West and 2500 South. Police say the body is that of an adult male. It's been turned over to the medical examiner's office for examination, and they do not expect any foul play. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is up 134 points, 0.29%. The S&P 500 is up 17 points, and the NASDAQ is up 64 points. Coming up, spring is here to stay. KSL weather is next.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 354, is looking for telecommunication technicians and fiber splicers to fill immediate job openings. Technicians work with network cabling and fiber optics to build communication networks and infrastructure. Come to our job fair on Thursday, April 9th and 23rd from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Utah Electrical Training Alliance in West Jordan, 7466 South Redwood Road. The IBEW is offering an amazing job opportunity. Enjoy a competitive wage, paid holidays, and employer-paid health care and retirements. Learn more at our job fair on Thursday, April 9th and 23rd from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Utah Electrical Training Alliance in West Jordan, 7466 South Redwood Road. Meet the contractors and tour the training center. Do you want to become a telecom technician? Apply for the 3-year telecom apprenticeship. Get paid while you learn. Invest in yourself. Join the IBEW. Learn more at IBEW354.org.
Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes in new inventory every day. Then they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. So you're invited to visit the movie show Friday 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit npsstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. npsstore.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at uccu.com. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Looking at some sizable delays for drivers southbound I-15 just past Park Lane. This is going from the flyover ramp on Legacy headed towards southbound I-15. By the time you reach State Street, that delay will be over. Also looking at slowdowns for drivers that are on eastbound Pioneer Crossing. This is you're approaching I-15, and the crash at northbound I-15 in Lehigh at the on-ramp at Main Street has cleared. The Good Feet store supporting you with comfort no matter what the day brings. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll be seeing some clouds through the week, but temperatures will be staying at a nice range of high 60s to low 70s with lows in the mid to high 40s. But right now, it's 55 degrees and fair weather downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We are waiting for a press conference today. President Trump is expected to address the nation about a couple of things, both related to Iran. First, the rescue of the U.S. Airmen 2, which were rescued one Friday and another one over the weekend, and how that came about. And second, his threat to really go after Iran in terms of bombing their infrastructure if they don't respond to some demands, including the opening of the Strait of Hormuz by tomorrow, Tuesday. He's expected to address the nation on both of those right away. These are things that we're waiting for. I think the American public is interested in both the answers to both of those questions.
Yes, I think that's true too. And there were, after his tweet that was full of expletives about how the United States, was going to destroy Iran, he had some reporters talk to him. This is what one of them heard.
President Trump threatening to bomb Iran's infrastructure, writing, "Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day all wrapped up in one." The president telling ABC News, if Iran does not make a deal, we're blowing up the whole country.
Yeah, and we talked earlier about the ethics of that, and I think a lot of it's threat, and I think it's maybe an effective threat, although we're seeing right now the Iranian response to that is we don't we don't negotiate with threats. We
Yeah.
don't negotiate with war crimes, and what's happened in our country is inexcusable. So they don't seem to be. But they also preface it by saying we are open to negotiation, but not when it follows war crimes. So, I mean, everybody's got to come to the table on this. I don't know where Israel is in regard to all this, but I suppose the president will address that when he speaks to us. He's sort of walking the lawn a little bit there, but a lot of media are there for this press conference, and I think a lot of people really want to hear the latest on that rescue.
And I don't know if Israel is that involved. I mean, I feel like they should be involved, but I also saw just this morning that the president said any ceasefire agreement rests solely with him. And I think Israel might have to make their own deal.
Right. Yeah. And they're a major player in this, maybe even more than the United States in terms of their involvement and their proximity to Iran and what they're thinking. And of course, it looked from the beginning like the U.S. and Israel were fairly lockstep in their initial attack of Iran. They've drifted apart a little bit and both seem to have a different direction. President Trump is now at the podium.
There we go.
So, good afternoon. We have quite a bit to discuss. We'll go into pretty good detail. And we have the people that are most involved. We'll give you exactitude. And we're here today to celebrate the success of one of the largest, most complex, most harrowing combat searches. I guess you would call it a search and rescue mission ever attempted by the military. Generally, when planes are knocked down in war, especially when you're fighting a strong group, an evil group, you can't really do this because you send in 200 men to pick up one, and it's something that's usually not attempted as much as you want to attempt. And bad things happen to that one or two. And in this case, we did two, and it might not have been attempted before, but we did. And we had great talent, but we got a little luck too, I would say. And we were helped by a lot of people, a lot of great people. And it was an honor to be involved with it. It's very historic. This is a rescue that's very historic. It'll go down in the books. Late Thursday night, an American F-15 fighter jet went down deep inside enemy territory in Iran while participating in Operation Epic Fury, where we're doing unbelievably well, well at a level that nobody's ever seen before. The entire country can be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. Both members of the crew ejected from the aircraft and landed alive on Iranian soil. I immediately was asked to make a decision. I ordered the U.S. Armed Forces to do whatever was necessary to bring our brave warriors back home. A risky decision, because we could have ended up with 100 dead as opposed to 1 or 2. It's a hard decision to make. But in the United States military, we leave no American behind. We don't do it. Within hours, our armed forces deployed 21 military aircraft into hostile airspace, many flying at very low altitude, being shot by bullets. You bring rifles into play when you're going that low, but there are also certain advantages. And in broad daylight over Iran for 7 hours, at times facing very, very heavy enemy fire. We have a helicopter that's got a lot of bullets in it. It's amazing. We just realized how good those weapons are. Our machines are. Nobody has the equipment that we have, and nobody has the military that we have. Not even close. We're the most powerful military anywhere in the world by far. The flight crews and warfighters aboard those aircraft took extraordinary risks to rescue their fellow service members. This first wave of search and rescue forces successfully located the pilot of the F-15, and he was extracted from enemy territory by an HH-60 Jolly Green II helicopter. Fabulous machine as our warriors faced gunfire at very close range. It's amazing that when you look at the machinery, what happened, that nobody was even injured. Meanwhile, the second crew member, a weapons system officer, a highly respected colonel, had landed a significant distance away from the pilot. When you're going at those speeds, even if you go out 2 or 3 seconds later, it's miles and miles away because you're going fast. He was injured quite badly and stranded in an area teeming with terrorists from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps rough group, as well as besieged militia and local authorities. Many, on top of everything else, they told the communities actually within inside of Iran, the people of Iran, they were given a tremendous incentive to find this pilot. Despite the peril, the officer followed his training and climbed into the treacherous mountain terrain and started climbing toward a higher altitude, something they were trained to do in order to evade capture. They want to always go as far away from the site of the shoot down. You want to go as far away because they all head right to that site. You want to be as far away as you can. And he was injured, and he was an amazing, amazing thing. He scaled cliff faces, bleeding rather profusely, treated his own wounds, and contacted American forces to transmit his location. They have a very sophisticated beeper-type apparatus that is on them at all times. And when they go out on these missions, they make sure they have lots of battery space and they're in good shape. And this one worked really well, amazingly, saved his life. We immediately mobilized a massive operation to retrieve him from the mountain holdout. And he kept going higher and higher. The mountain kept getting rougher and rougher and really very, very hard to find. The second rescue mission involved 155 aircraft, including 4 bombers, 64 fighters, 48 refueling tankers, 13 rescue aircraft, and more. We were bringing them all over, and a lot of it was subterfuge. We wanted to have them think he was in a different location because they had a vast military force out there. Thousands of people were looking. So we wanted them to look in different areas, so we were scattered all over like we were right on top of them. We had 7 different locations where they thought, and they were very confused. They said, well, wait a minute, they've got groups here, they've got groups there. It's an amazing thing. I was listening to these great people, these great generals. General Raisin Kane was amazing, and Pete Hegseth was amazing. But I listened to the whole thing. It was pretty amazing. So they had all these different sites where everybody thought he was located. We think we have him over there because they have 9 planes circling a little area that's 25 miles down the coast. So in a breathtaking show of skill and precision, lethality and force, America's military descended on the area, the real area, engaged the enemy, rescued the stranded officer, destroyed all threats, and exited Iranian territory while taking no casualties of any kind. The heroic F-15 weapons system officer had evaded capture on the ground in Iran for almost 48 hours. That's a long time when you're in tough shape and when you're bleeding. It's a long time. When we left, as you probably know, we had 2 large planes, pretty old planes that carried a lot. We needed a lot more equipment going in than coming out, obviously, because going in, we needed to be able to scale mountains. And we had a lot of equipment, but the sand was sandy, wet sand. So we thought there may be a problem taking off because of the weight of the plane. And then we also had all the men jumping back onto the planes, and they got pretty well bogged down. And we had a contingency plan, which was unbelievable, where lighter, faster aircraft came in and they took them out. We blew up the old planes. We blew them up to smithereens, because we had equipment on the planes that, frankly, we'd like to take, but I don't think it was worthwhile spending another 4 hours there taking it off. So we didn't want anybody to have, we have the best equipment anywhere in the world. We didn't want anybody examining our anti-aircraft and other equipment. So these were large planes that were old and pretty old, and we blew them up. And we had faster, lighter planes come in, and they were able to land on the sand. We needed the bigger planes because we had so much equipment that we needed. We took 3 helicopters over there, which were very strongly used, and couldn't have lived without them. They did, and they performed unbelievably well. And if you'd see it, you wouldn't believe it. They came off the plane, and these guys had them. The rotors were off. They rebuilt these helicopters in less than 10 minutes. And that was one of the more amazing things. These are helicopters, small, unbelievably powerful, but small, very small, so it can get into certain areas. And they got them off the plane, and they rebuilt all 3 of them in a matter of less than 10 minutes. It's pretty amazing what the genius of these people. Who would think that? You'd think it would take 5 days to build them. And in some companies, it would take 5 days, and they wouldn't do it well. But they served us well. As Commander-in-Chief, I never forget the extraordinary risk taken by the warriors that we send into battle, and the genius. I mean, think of it, having a contingency of 3 planes waiting because we think the sand is so bad that we probably won't be able to take off. And the planes really got bogged. This was not much of a runway. This was a farm, not a runway. It's a farm, but it did the trick. But to have a contingency as opposed to having to wait 2 days, can you imagine right in the middle? This was central. This was right, you would call it central casting if you were doing a movie for location.
Donald Trump give an update on the rescue of the second pilot in Iran.
Came in so fast and so quick and got out of there. Everybody got aboard and just got 15-minute intervals. 1 load out, 1 load out, 1 load out. It happened, and we were watching, and we said, "That's amazing." In many ways, I was almost more impressed by the contingency that we had than the fact that if we would have had a runway or decent soil. But it was an amazing thing. But we thank God for every single one of them. And the talent, the genius is not even talent, it's genius. It's the whole ball game, every one of them. If you look at what we did with Maduro, we went into a military compound, a massive, with thousands and thousands of soldiers, and within a matter of minutes, and he lived behind iron doors. There were steel doors, broke them down so quickly, and within almost minutes, he was in the back of these planes. It was a similar group. Incredible. We have incredibly talented people. And if the time comes, we move heaven and earth to bring them home safely. We're going to bring our people home safely. I want to thank every member of the U.S. Armed Forces involved in these historic operations. They really were historic. It's just not something that's done. And you'd understand it. Not that they don't want to do it, but when you're going into areas, when you look at these helicopters, when you look at the amount of bullets and everything else that they took, when you go into these areas, you don't come out like we came out. God was watching us, I tell you. Well, it was the Easter, we were in the Easter territory, I guess, but God was watching us. Amazing. Because when you look at the machinery, they took damage. It tells you, first thing I said is, these are unbelievable machines, how they flew back and not even much of a problem. But these 2 extraordinary rescues, because it was 2, and as you probably know, we didn't talk about the first one for an hour. Then somebody leaked something, which we'll hopefully find that leaker. We're looking very hard to find that leaker. And talked about there's somebody missing. They basically said that we have one and there's somebody missing. Well, they didn't know there was somebody missing until this leaker gave the information. So whoever it was, we think we'll be able to find it out because we're going to go to the media company that released it, and we're going to say, national security, give it up or go to jail. And we know who, and you know who we're talking about, because some things you can't do. Because when they did that, all of a sudden, the entire country of Iran knew that there was a pilot that was somewhere on their land that was fighting for his life. And it also made it much more difficult for the pilots and for the people going in to search for him. All of a sudden, they know that there's somebody out there. They see all these planes coming in. It became a much more difficult operation because a leaker leaked that we have one, we've rescued one, but there's another one out there that we're trying to get. So actually, the country, Iran, put out a major notice, you all saw it, offering a very big award for anybody that captures the pilot. So in addition to a hostile, very talented, very good, very evil military, we had millions of people trying to get an award. So when you add that to it, but we have to find that leaker because that's a sick person. Probably didn't realize the extent of how bad it was. I can't imagine that the person did, but we're going to find out. It's national security, and the person that did the story will go to jail if he doesn't say, and that doesn't last long, and I think everybody would understand it. They put this mission at great risk. They put that man at great risk, and they put the hundreds of people that went in looking for him, because everyone now knows that we're going in. Over the past 37 days, America's armed forces have carried out more than 10,000 combat flights over Iran, unheard of, striking more than 13,000 targets. The F-15 we lost last week was the first manned aircraft down by the enemy in this entire operation with thousands and thousands of flights. They got lucky. It was a lucky hit. You know, eventually you get lucky. But we got lucky too because we got both of them back. But it's a record that is unparalleled in the history of military air operations. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. It's such an honor to be involved with it. We were up late at night, and then we were waiting for those contingent planes to come in, and we say, come on, let's go, get in, because they're waiting out on this farm without a runway, with wet, crummy soil, sand, mostly sand, wet sand, and it eats planes alive, and we're waiting, and we're saying, I hope that one can land and take off. And they came in like magic, boom, 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 one after another. It was like genius. I'm so impressed by that. Because we were a little concerned. We said, boy, if they don't get in and get up fast, we're sitting in them. And that's called Iran Prime, right, General? That's where the whole bet is. And here we are sitting there waiting for a plane. But they came in so fast and so hard, and these guys knew exactly what to do. Let's go, come on, get in, let's go, blah. They came one right after another.
We've been listening to a press conference of President Trump talking about the really quite amazing rescue of the two American pilots taken out of Iran after their F-15 fighter jet was shot down Thursday night. And it really was a daring rescue. We lost other aircraft in the process, Holly, but it sounds like it was a decision that was made to get everybody out of there as safely as possible.
But we blew up our own. That was something that I had seen rumored online, and I just wasn't sure if I should believe it or not. So I'm looking actually at a report from the BBC that talks a little bit about what happened. And of course, we're learning a little bit more about this. They had a lot of people on the ground involved with this. In fact, by President Trump's numbers, there were 155 aircraft involved in this rescue of this second airman.
Yeah, and obviously hundreds of individuals involved too. And so when you have to make a decision, and he articulated it really well. You send a couple hundred people in to rescue one or two. You have to make a calculated risk. Is it worth it? What if we don't rescue them and we have casualties again? Mm-hmm. It was a daring, brave, really decision to go ahead and try it and see what happened. The U.S. Military's got to be just patting themselves on the back right now to have been able to do this. And the pilots have these beacons, these transmitters that must transmit hundreds of miles, and they were able to locate their presence and find them, and he was actually hidden in some rocks up there, so it was really a frightening situation. Actually, one of his military leaders is talking right now. Let's break away to that for just a minute.
That the Department of War is known for are hostage to flawless intelligence. We saw that in the skies over Iran in Operation Midnight Hammer last summer.
This is CIA Director John Ratcliffe.
During Operation Absolute Resolve. We've seen it against the cartels in the Western Hemisphere, And we're seeing it every day in Operation Epic Fury, including this mission to rescue an aviator buried deep behind enemy lines. Because it is the unique tradition of the U.S. Armed Forces that we leave no man or woman behind, this was a no-fail mission. That was the spirit in which the President put us to work, and we were determined not to let him down or our airmen down. As an agency, the CIA possesses unique capabilities that only the President can deploy. Some of these capabilities fall under covert action authorities. And because covert means exactly that, I'm not going to be able to tell you everything that you want to know. At the President's direction, we deployed both human assets and exquisite technologies that no other intelligence service in the world possesses to a daunting challenge, comparable to hunting for a single grain of sand in the middle of a desert. This was also a race against the clock, as it was critical that we locate the downed aviator as quickly as possible, while at the same time keeping our enemies misdirected. For that reason, in addition to the human and technical assets deployed by the President to find our airmen, CIA executed a deception campaign to confuse the Iranians who were desperately hunting for our airmen. On Saturday morning, we achieved our primary objective by finding and providing confirmation that one of America's best and bravest was alive and concealed in a mountain crevice, still invisible to the enemy, but not to the CIA.
We've been listening to CIA Director John Ratcliffe talk to us about this really daring rescue, and great news for the military, great news for the United States. When we come back, we have some more great news because it's a big day for Artemis 2. The spacecraft will break the record for the farthest distance from Earth as it makes its way around the dark side of the moon. And we'll hear some comments from the crew members after we get back.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top local story this hour. The U.S. Department of Agriculture plans to close over half of their research stations in the country, including several in Utah. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
57 of nearly 80 U.S. Forest Service research facilities are being closed across the nation, with plans to move nearly all research into one location in Fort Collins, Colorado. This includes locations in Logan, Cedar City, and Ogden. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says this will streamline research and make implementing change easier. However, nonprofit organization Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility says this may introduce a one-size-fits-all approach into forest management across completely different ecosystems.
It's also noted the change happens right at the start of the wildfire season after an unusually dry winter. Federal legislation changes means some Utahns are going to see higher health care costs, and one foundation's report is making it easy to understand why. KSL News Radio's Louise Kelly explains.
President of the Utah Foundation and researcher for the report, Sean Teagan, says that even he has struggled navigating his health care coverage.
I double-checked to make sure that I was going to be covered for this. And they said, well, I guess you have to triple-check. I was like, is that right? Is that a thing?
Teagan says the report found 8 in 10 Utahns already worry about affording health care, and federal changes are expected to cause higher rates for about 420,000 Utahns. He says because fewer people in the state are getting insured, the marketplace is smaller, and insurance companies make up the loss with higher rates. Louise Kelly, KSL News Radio.
Taking a look at your money at this moment, we're seeing green across the board. The Dow Jones is up 44 points, the S&P 500 is up 15, and the Nasdaq is up 71. Coming up, spring has officially sprung. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
At Uline, they know firsthand the road to success is an uphill climb. Uline started in the family basement. and through hard work is now North America's most trusted shipping and industrial supplier. They get what it means to have the support of reliable, hard-working partners. So they keep 41,000 items ready to ship. Whether your company is still in a basement office or expanding cross-country, Uline will be there on your road to success. Visit uline.com.
I'm Congressman Mike Kennedy. For years, Utah families have paid too much for health care, groceries, and everyday essentials. I'm fighting for health care reform that puts patients first and lowers costs. I'm also working to cut waste, fraud, and abuse in Washington because your tax dollars should be spent wisely. Fiscal responsibility means lower costs and a government that works for you. I'm Mike Kennedy, and I'll keep fighting for Utah families. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Every day here in Utah, people turn to KSL News Radio for one simple reason: trust. Trust for our reporters, hosts, our coverage, and trust in the businesses heard right here. I've met so many of our listeners over the years, and they'll tell you KSL is part of their daily routine, in the car, at work, at home. And when they hear your business here, it carries the weight of that trust. It isn't just another ad. It's a recommendation coming from a reliable source. When you advertise on KSL News Radio, you reach a loyal, highly engaged audience who listens intentionally. They show up for breaking news, accurate information, and meaningful conversations. And because of that connection, they respond. And when you pair our on-air credibility with digital tools like display advertising, social media, streaming audio, search, geo-targeting, and retargeting, you get a full funnel strategy that works and reaches the right people at the right time. Get marketing that truly moves the needle. Partner with the voice Utah trusts. KSL. Learn more at kslnewsradio.com/advertise.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at uccu.com. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Still have delays southbound I-15. This is just south of the Park Lane exit. They did have the right lane blocked, but it looks like they've got that open, but there's still a little bit of slowing once you get past the flyover ramps. Now, if you're headed a little further south on I-15, we have another crash as you're approaching the 400 North exit. This is on the right shoulder in the Gore area. Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Temperatures are going to float this week in the high 60s and low 70s, with lows sitting somewhere in the high 40s. We can expect some rain Tuesday through the weekend. Right now it's 61 degrees and partly cloudy downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So this is the Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. I gotta have a Pink Floyd moment once a year, and so this is it. Dark Side of the Moon. Anyway, that's where our astronauts are about to be anytime today. Artemis 2 spacecraft took off, I think it was about a week ago. And part of their mission, well, the significant part of their mission, Holly, was to fly around the backside of the moon, which means that spacecraft will be the furthest away any human has ever been from planet Earth when they're on the backside there.
Yeah, that's right. And there's more from ABC's Gio Benitez.
p.m. Eastern today, Artemis 2 will be breaking the record previously set by the crew of Apollo 13 in 1970 for the farthest humans have ever traveled from Earth. The astronauts will then begin observing the lunar surface at 2:45 p.m. Then they're going to reach that maximum distance from Earth at 7:07 p.m.
Yeah, 1:56 p.m. Eastern today will be breaking the record previously set, and then it continues. So that's just 20 minutes away. They'll be in record-setting territory, and then it gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, they're also going to be taking some photos up there, of course.
The astronauts will capture images of craters and lava flows, places never seen by the naked eye. They'll also take photos of Earth and other planets visible in the distance.
So I wonder, they've got to have some sort of camera that allows them to take pictures of a planet that is completely dark, the dark side of the moon. That's interesting. So the images of craters, lava flows, places never seen by the naked eye, they must have some really interesting, well, obviously they do. They're NASA. They have the best
cameras and facilities in the world, but they're going to take some pictures of Earth from a distance we've never seen Earth before, too.
So there are really some fun stories, I think, with this, and I just have to share a couple of them with you. So first of all, you know that there are 4 people on this mission, and there's an article. This one is by let's see, it's by NPR actually. So they're talking about what are these astronauts and what are they bringing, and one of them, the woman Christina Cook, she had a quote that I just have to laugh, because she talked about her husband. So first of all, you have to know she spent 328 days on the International Space Station.
One of the record setters.
One of the record, I think, for a woman, for certainly a record. But it was so funny because she said that her husband called her while she was up there on the International Space Station to find out where things were in the house. And I'm like,
I'm kind of busy.
How stereotypical might that be, right? That the guy can't find the stuff in the house. And so this is what she said. She said about that her husband was going to have to realize he was not going to be able to call her because there was going to be some time where she would not be available. So she said this: I really have to make sure he knows it's not like the International Space Station where he can just make a phone call. He's not going to be able to call me and ask where something is. He's going to have to find it.
And he's going to think, she's ignoring me. She's not taking my call. I didn't realize they could have that level. But you would think in 300 days, whatever.
328.
You absolutely should be able to have communication, regular communication with your family, maybe even daily or a couple times a week. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't realize it was that easy to accomplish.
So the commander of the mission is also, his name is Reed Wiseman. He's a Navy test pilot, but he's also a single father. And one of the things that he told the media about is leaving his kids behind. And one of the things he said is that he had to have a conversation. He has 2 daughters. He went on a walk with them, he said, and said, okay, here's where my will is. Here's where the trust documents are. If anything happens to me, here's what's going to happen to you. And I think, that's a really important conversation and touching. But he also said this: I actually wish more people in everyday life talked to their families in that way, because you never know what the next day is going to bring.
And that hit close to home for me just about 2 or 3 years ago, because both of my parents died. And of course, you always think your parents are going to live forever, and they were approaching 90, and so we had to think that way. And I recall just the last day or 2 of my father's life, realizing I needed to ask him some questions.
Yeah.
And we had that opportunity, he and I, to talk. We were alone, and we just had a long talk about things that I'll never forget. And he told me things that I would have been incredibly difficult to learn after his passing.
Well, speaking of that, my brother-in-law passed away last week. He had surgery at the Mayo Clinic. He was home, and he died during the night, that first night home. My sister-in-law is just beside herself because they didn't have those types of conversations in detail.
You know what's silly? I'm a lawyer, and it took me until just about a couple of years ago for my wife and I to set up a trust, a will. You know what I mean? Like, and I can do it in my sleep probably, but I didn't. I went to a professional. Right.
Kids have no shoes.
Exactly.
Look, here's a fun story I also thought about Artemis 2. So yesterday was Easter. They had an Easter egg hunt in space. So it was so fun. The crew had hidden eggs around the cabin. They were dehydrated scrambled eggs, just so you know. But they were able to do an Easter egg hunt in space. So probably the first time that's ever happened.
I was told that when the ship goes through this dark side of the moon, there's a part, I don't remember.
There's about 40 minutes.
Yeah, 40 minutes when they will have no communication with Earth at all.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because there's a moon in the way.
Yeah.
No matter what your satellites are like, you just can't get anything. But that's one of those scary times when NASA itself is going to be going, what are they thinking? What are they seeing? What are they doing?
Yeah.
But if they made it that far, they must feel fairly comfortable right now that this mission is going to be a success.
One of the other things, I'm sure they didn't find it amusing, but their toilet stopped working.
Oh, no.
In space. So they got it back to normal use, but things froze up and they had to actually repair the toilet. So I guess some of those things never change, right?
Yeah,
They
and
never change.
you have to know also, or imagine, I guess, that these astronauts are trained to do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, if something goes wrong with the aircraft, they got to fix it. They can't call a plumber. So they would probably, one of them or two of them know how to fix the plumbing.
Yeah, I think
part of your training.
I think that's true. And there's another fun story, I think, where there's a previous astronaut. So they had Jim Lovell. He actually passed away in 2025, but they were preparing for this mission, and he recorded a message for them that they were able to listen to this morning. And he basically said, "Hello, Artemis 2. This is Apollo astronaut Jim Lovell. Welcome to my old neighborhood." And then said,
my word.
Yeah. He said, when Frank Borman, Bill Anders, and I orbited the moon on Apollo 8, we got humanity's first up-close look at the moon and got a view of the home planet that inspired and united people around the world. I'm proud to pass that torch to you. So I thought that was super great
for
as
him.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Artemis 2. Artemis 1 was an unmanned spaceship which went up toward the moon and back. This is the manned version, and it will go...
Making a loop.
Right now, a loop around the moon. It went a couple loops around the Earth to get a little speed up, and then goes around the moon, and it is probably just any minute now in the area which we call the furthest any human being has ever been away from the planet. Artemis 3 is another one that approaches the moon, but it's not until Artemis 4 that they'll land on the moon. So we're still 2 craft away, which will be several years. But I mean, yes, we're going to land on the moon soon.
Artemis 3 is supposed to be a crewed mission, and it's supposed to launch in 2027. And then, as you mentioned, when Artemis 4 takes off, they will be landing on the moon. And their whole purpose is to create a base that they can launch space exploration to Mars.
Is there a date for Artemis 4?
You
say Artemis 3 was 2027.
Artemis 3 is 2027.
So probably 2028, probably once a year or something like that.
Let's see. So it is, I don't know.
Sorry, bad question.
You put me on the spot. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some of our fun facts with specific days to note about the history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's Greg and Greg's closing arguments about today's news. Stay with us.
If you've saved more than $300,000, there's one thing you can do now that can make your savings go twice as far in retirement, and it's tax planning. That's right. Tax planning could significantly reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k withdrawals, Social Security benefits, and other investment income. Find out how much money you could save with a free retirement tax savings analysis from the good people at Boss Retirement Solutions. To schedule your free analysis, call 801-896-9622. Tax planning for retirement could reduce your taxes not just for 1 year, but for the rest of your life. And the savings could be 6 figures. Let's find out how much money you could save. Call 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622.
For informational purposes only, actual results may vary. No statement contained herein shall constitute tax, legal, or investment advice. Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
Not sure how to tackle your taxes? Are you sweating the small print? You may be experiencing FOMO, the fear of messing up. The answer? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it, with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. It's time to take your taxes to the max. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-290-7100. That's 800-290-7100.
In Utah, over 200,000 families have trusted RGS Exteriors with their homes, and there's a reason for that. Our family's business has been serving Utah homeowners for 5 generations. In fact, there's no exterior company in Utah with a longer history, not even close. That kind of reputation doesn't happen by accident. It happens year after year, award after award, referral after referral, and home after home. At RGS Exteriors, we specialize in siding, windows, gutters, and decking that protect and transform your home.
Hi, Tim Brown here, RGS Exteriors. My family has been building and improving homes in Utah for 5 generations, and taking care of homeowners is something we take very serious. With over 1,300 5-star Google reviews, 21 Best of State awards, and our 10-year workmanship warranty, homeowners know they can trust RGS. Over 200,000 families across Utah have trusted RGS Exteriors with their home, and so can you. Schedule your free estimate today at 801-280-3110, 801-280-3110.
Are you looking to find more fairways, hit more greens, and lower your scores? Then it's time for a custom fitting from a Shields certified master fitter. Learning from the world's top fitters at Titleist Performance Institute, Callaway Performance Center, and the Ping Proving Grounds, we have the tools and expertise to match the right clubs to your swing for a more consistent game. Elevate your play today. Visit shields.com/expert fitting to schedule your session.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Since 1971, Benson's Trophies and Plaques has been proudly providing Utah with personalized trophy and award designs. As a family-owned and operated business, they pride themselves on delivering exceptional customer service. Owner Craig Benson joins us with more.
At our family-owned shop, we've been helping Utah recognize excellence for years with personalized trophies and awards. Whether you're celebrating an athletic achievement, a corporate milestone, or a personal accomplishment, we've got you covered with custom high-quality designs. We specialize in engraving and offer a wide variety of awards to suit every need. Our showroom, conveniently located in Salt Lake City, allows you to see the quality of our work firsthand and explore different options. We take pride in exceptional customer service, ensuring that every award we create truly reflects the value of the person or event it's meant to honor. Our goal is to make your recognition moment as special as possible, whether it's for a team, an individual, or a company. Come visit our showroom at 1476 South Main Street in Salt Lake and check out the wide range of examples we offer our customers.
Using the latest engraving equipment and techniques, Benson's Trophies and Plaques continues to deliver reliable, high-quality products to Utah. Explore their wide range of services and custom solutions by visiting bensonstrophies.com today. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
So as we come to the end of our show today, I do want to mention a little bit more about Artemis. So the missions, there will actually be 5. This is number 2. And what we're seeing for number 3 is that number 3 is going to be a mission. It will not land on the moon, but it will be a mission that will take astronauts up and an opportunity to try docking with private space enterprises. So think Elon Musk's thing. So that's supposed to be in 2027. In 2028, we're supposed to get the Artemis 4 mission, which will it'll take a crew up and then put 2 astronauts down on the moon to do a series of experiments for about a week. And then it's Artemis 5 when they start building the lunar base. So you're right that it's about once a year coming up. So
that
really
will be fascinating
Mm-hmm.
to see people land on the moon again, because they haven't been there in 50 some odd years, almost 60 years.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got some fun facts. So today's April 6th, but the first fun fact happened in 1772, and Catherine the Great in Russia repealed the tax on beards. So in Russia,
there was a tax on beards.
I know, right? Russia, Peter the Great put a tax on beards in the late 1600s because he wanted the Russian men to look more like Western European trends. So, like, literally think 1698.
So if you had a beard, you had to pay.
You had to pay an extra tax. You did. The tax was steep. For the time, so nobles and wealthy merchants had to pay up to 100 rubles annually. Commoners were charged a lower fee, and then the beard tokens. People who paid the tax had to actually carry a token. It showed a face with a nose, mouth, and beard, and it sometimes had the phrase on it: "The beard is a superfluous burden."
So if you got stopped,
you had to prove
with a beard,
that
you
had
better
paid.
be carrying the token.
That is right. That was right. So the tax was heavily opposed by the Russian Orthodox Church. Just imagine.
Yeah.
They viewed shaving as blasphemous.
What year was that?
So it was put into place in 1698, but on April 6, 1772, nearly 100 years later, not quite, 80 years later, more than 70, Catherine the Great said, nope. We're going to take that tax off, and men can wear beards in Russia.
So, as a coin collector, I have to wonder what those tokens would be worth today.
If
you had one of those, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I've never seen
Okay,
one.
so this day is also a day that's important for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because it was on April 6th, 1830, that it was officially organized in Fayette, New York, with 6 original members. Of course, now we have millions. And it was on this day in 1893 that the Salt Lake LDS Temple was dedicated. So it is now, you know that it's closed right now. It'll be rededicated in October of 2027. But in April, in a year, it'll be open for visitors to come through the open house.
I've never thought about the formation of a church. I mean, maybe there's some sort of thing that's required nationally to sit down. You've got 6 members, and we're formally organizing ourselves as a church.
I don't think it was national. I think it was the state, and it required 6 people to sign on as signatories to say, yes, we wanted to create this church. And so there were 6 men. I think
it doesn't matter.
I think it was called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Maybe so, right, yeah.
So as the church expands into other countries, they do have to get formal recognition from those countries. Sometimes it takes a while.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that happened. And I will say this fun fact as a midwife, there was a baby that was born during the temple dedication. They were so long, and the speakers went on so long that a mom went into labor and had her baby inside the temple while it was being dedicated. I think the middle name of the baby was like Templus or something like that.
Right.
Okay, so on less cheerful news, on this day in 1917, the United States officially entered World War I, and if you remember, they were trying to stay out and say this was somebody else's problem until our ships were attacked, and they were like, okay, we're in. And then on this day in 1994, the general, he was the president of Rwanda, he was also a dictator, Juvenal Habyarimana. I'm not sure I'm saying his name right. I just know that the president was shot down. He was in a plane. A missile was launched, brought his plane down, and it set off a genocide where almost 1 million people died in 100 days, killed largely by their neighbors. It was really, really horrific. The
in
Rwandan
response
genocide.
to that event, people went.
It wasn't just in response, but it was part of. It was really the match.
The straw that broke the end.
Because things were really simmering, and there were local radios that were already, saying, go kill the cockroaches, meaning the other people, Hutus and Tutsis. So I've been to Rwanda, and I've been to like the Genocide Museum, and it's just I've been inside churches where they still had piles of skulls, and they had piles of clothing from the people that died during that genocide. So I think 800,000 people plus in 100 days, just really incredible. And one of the things that I remember from 1994, there was not a lot of Western news coming out. I mean, there was
That's what was bothering people.
Yeah, it's like, well, why are we not doing anything?
Right, exactly.
Bill Clinton was the president at the time, and he later said that he regretted not doing more to stop that. It was just really
There's still
horrific.
some conflicts in those groups, it seems
There
like
are,
today.
and around in Burundi, and it kind of spills over. But one of the things I think that's interesting is the Hutus and the Tutsis were not actually separate groups until Belgium went in as colonizers and said, okay, if you have this physical characteristic, you're this, and if you have this other one, you're that. And they segregated them artificially. They had not been segregated in the same way before that.
Wow. Well, in about 15 seconds, really, literally at 11:57, man will be as far as it has ever been from the planet Earth. And that will break the record. The current record is 248,655 miles. That's a long way from Earth. At 11:57, that's going to be broken. It'll probably be broken while I'm giving this talk. And it was interesting to hear your discussion about Artemis, the mission and the various stages of the mission. It reminded me of the Apollo. There were several more then, but it took more. And the technology that it takes to do these kind of things, and know that you have to do it right. You have to do it right. You can't lose people in ships like this because it's so important. Just really makes you proud kind of where we are right now technologically in this country and really worldwide. I think there are other countries that could maybe do the same thing, but it really makes you appreciate what's going on. And at the same time, we're talking about a rescue mission that happened. Literally, there's two events going on where people got into a country. Our military got into Iran, and I'm thinking, somebody's up in the hills here in Big Cottonwood Canyon, and the race to get that person before the locals do, with a $60,000 bounty on the individual's head. You have to think the technology for that is every bit, to me, as a former engineer, and that's what I did before I went to law school, is as impressive as getting 249,000 miles away from planet Earth. I mean, the things that people do and that think of, and the pure genius of how this occurs. And then think about the military planning that went into this, because it's not like you're going to plan on a jet going down, but you have to. Yeah,
and
exactly. Okay, how are we going to go get that pilot? And we're going to risk hundreds of other military personnel to go get. Don't leave a person behind. It's the same thing with the moon flight. You mentioned one of the astronauts sitting down with his daughters, or taking them for a walk and saying, "Here's where my will is, and here's where the trust is, and here's what's going on. I may never come back." I mean, people are taking these chances that you and I don't have to take. We'll never have to take to do these incredible things, and it just makes you proud. I mean, say what you want about the war. Sure, we probably shouldn't be there. We need to wrap it up as soon as possible. But the technology and where we are in America right now is so impressive that we can do two things like that over the same weekend that maybe they're historic. They're historic, and maybe something that people couldn't do, even a year or two ago. So I just have to hand it to our scientists right now in this country.
Thank you for those closing arguments. Look, Salt Lake City officials are once again sounding the alarm on a planned ICE detention facility, and this time it's about sewage. Midday with Maria Chaleos has the latest details. Stay right here on KSL News Radio.
KSL FM Midvale.